Okay, am I muted now? It's 12 noon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Masters. I'm going to be your MC today. Welcome to the KDM Consortium. We're going to be covering a lot of interesting topics, but I've been asked to tell you a little bit about myself first and why I was snagged into being the MC for today's presentation. I have a media background. I'm best known for essentially building the largest independent series of talk radio networks in the United States. I also helped one of the most valuable television brands in America that created one of the most important TV channels to help launch their network radio division, among others. And I've also been a CEO of a national magazine, involved as a joint venture partner in a basically television production company that distributed 5 scripted series in 100 world markets. Today, my main focus is on bringing semiconductor manufacturing companies to America, and I'm working with one of the largest Indian manufacturers of semiconductor chips in a fully integrated manufacturing process to move here to America to build the first cell phone, laptops, and tablets on the U.S. soil, which will be a first, one of the administration's objectives. I also work with AI companies, disruptive AI companies, and material science companies. When Keith asked me to host today, I was really intrigued because I was fascinated by what he had created with the coalition. And I wanted to talk with you briefly with my opening remarks before I introduced our distinguished panel. First of all, something really interesting has happened with the tariff structures the new administration has required of our trading partners globally. People consider the tariffs to be a tax boon. That's not really the benefit of the tariffs. The real benefit of the tariffs is that for the first time in 55 years, essentially, we are not stuck contained in an internal economy because the administration has forced our foreign trading partners to drop all their tariff barriers to our exports. This is very critical to consider, and why the KDM Consortium actually exists is to take advantage of this major factor. Because if estimates are right, and we have no barriers to export anymore, where the tariffs in foreign countries essentially erected barriers to our compatibility, the result of that effect is something fascinating. We will be able to double our GDP in the next 7 years using AI and embodied robotics to compete directly with China and have no restrictions for doing so now that the tariffs have dropped. So when considering all that, when Keith told me about the consortium and asked me to MC today, I looked very closely at it and I realized it was very similar to what Dr. W. Edward Demings did in Japan in the early 1950s, when he went there after the war to teach a demoralized Japanese people how to build quality into the process through manufacturing techniques that we know as Elon Musk and others have sort of perfected a process of iteration that eliminates parts, makes us more competitive. That happened in Japan. And it happened in Japan through dynamic collaboration between would-be competitors. Deming's theory was essentially that there are no competitors for Japanese companies since there's a global market. And if all of the Japanese companies could look at each other as potential strategic partners and allies, that they could work together and cut their capital expenditures in half if they both joint ventured on an engine, for instance, which has happened between, I believe, Toyota and Mazda, or Mazda and Honda. I don't have that in front of me right now, but I find it fascinating. That is the Deming model that created the economic explosion in Japan after 1960, really, and why everybody talked about the quality of Nissans and Toyotas and Hondas all through the 70s and 80s, which really put a big kink in our compatibility because the quality was so good. That happened as a result of collaboration, and that's the same exact model of collaboration that the KDM Consortium brings to the marketplace, and allowing the people on the good panel that I'm going to introduce shortly to hang their egos at the door and create that same dynamic model that created the economic explosion in Japan to take advantage of the new lowered tariff barriers. On top of that, the KDM Consortium is something that I find fascinating in that they help you process and access all the advantages of a very short time frame. September 30th, 2026 is the fiscal year end, as you all know. But they've also lowered the barriers for regulation and red tape, specifically for the defense industry, in order to bring forward innovation, since the larger defense contractors have such a long development cycle. So with that said, the KDM Consortium offers you an amazing array of benefits that will allow you to access huge accounts and huge contracting opportunities through a collaborative process that unites 6 original founding members and as many as 12 others to collaborate with you in enabling you to access a warm environment that's easy to go through in a contracting process. And I take my hats off to all of them for bringing that Deming model that created the Japanese economic explosion to America in the form of the KDM Consortium, and the sort of neat value that brings, that allows everyone listening to essentially take advantage of the new lowered tariff barriers for export, which should, again, I know it's a shocking statement to some, double our GDP, allowing our country to pay off its national debt, if that's possible, through export from manufacturing domestically. This has never happened. Most people that are on this call don't remember a time when there weren't barriers to our competitive export advantage. Well, now we have them. And I believe that's 90% of the value of the administration's tariff structure and people aren't realizing it yet. Finally, the adoption of artificial intelligence and embodied robotics is something that cannot be resisted. Anybody that resists it will be out of business in 2 to 3 years. There's going to be a lot of changes that are going to occur. And the people on this phone are going to show you how to navigate those waters to embrace AI and embody robotics in a more dynamic way to help your contractors, help your relationships, help your application process, and lower the cost of your products and services to the federal government through innovation. With that said, let me introduce the distinguished panel, and I hope that made some sense. First of all, it is my great pleasure to introduce, Nell Varanis, CEO of Strategic Value Plus Solutions, with a distinguished service at Northrop Grumman, Toyota, Nike, and other industry leaders. Nell stands as a true champion for American manufacturing. She equips our nation's manufacturers with bold AI, automation, and Industry 4.0 strategies to overcome global pressures, strengthen supply chains, and restore profitability and resilience. Nell, welcome. Let us renew America's industrial strength and secure a brighter, more future together.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Everybody. She has the good background. I don't. So I didn't know how to promote it to see a picture.
Oh, well, that's all right. We see you in real life, and that's amazing. You're a wonderful leader, and thank you so much, actually, for jumping in here today and giving us a lift. We are so excited.
My pleasure. I'm going to mention. I'm going to introduce each as they come up. There's 5 stellar people. Just as a quick preview, Nell.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
The other folks on this that we're going to present, there's going to be 5 more presenters, including Carlton Harris, Senior Vice President and Chief Growth Officer at End-to-End Enterprise Solutions, with more than 20 years building innovation across federal and commercial sectors. Carlton is a visionary technology executive who delivers cutting-edge cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, digital twin integration, and cloud modernization. He safeguards our most critical systems and unlocks lasting strategic value. Carlton, thank you for joining us as well. Why don't you pop on the screen and say hello to everybody? If you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. I'll move on. Miranda Baldwin. It's my distinct honor to introduce Miranda Baldwin. She's a bright spark. She's the founder and CEO of Logicorp Corporation, a proud woman-owned defense contractor dedicated to our warfighters and the production of critical infrastructure. With expertise, delivers ready with expertise in logistics, cybersecurity, zero trust architectures, and engineering. What the heck is zero trust architectures? We'll get into that later after the show. And engineering, Miranda delivers mission-ready solutions to the Department of Defense and intelligence community. Sometimes they're not so intelligent, but let's get beyond that. A passionate advocate for small businesses and publisher of vital defense and technology briefs, Miranda embodies the innovative spirit that keeps everyone strong and secure. Miranda, welcome. Your work strengthens our nation every day. Say hello.
Thank you. Looking forward to speaking with all of you.
Okay, bring in, then I'm going to bring in Charles Sills next. Charles, pop on the screen, say hi.
Hello. Hi, everybody, and thank you, Mark, for the introduction.
Okay, so it's my great pleasure to introduce Charles Sills. Hi, Charles.
Hello, great.
Charles's bio was so long that I couldn't grok it down to anything. It was like 14 pages. He's got such an illustrious history. But I'm going to try to do my best in 27 seconds. Charles is the president and CEO of American Defense Alliance and a former naval intelligence officer who served with distinction in the Pentagon, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and the U.S. Middle East Force. Charles is a recognized authority on government contracting and a passionate advocate for small and medium businesses. Through the American Defense Alliance, he builds powerful bridges between innovative American companies and our prime defense contractors, strengthening our national security and supporting our warfighters. Charles, welcome. Your dedicated service and vision are helping keep America strong and our industry vibrant.
Mark, thanks so much, and I look forward to talking further on this program for the consortium. Thank you.
Okay, and you're also a fine-looking man. I want to add that. That's just a personal opinion. Don't blush.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay, and finally, our illustrious leader, Keith Moore. Keith, you had better worn a suit and a tie today. You did. I'm stunned. Hold on a second, everybody. You actually are dressed well. It's amazing. Okay.
Why are you stunned though? That's my dilemma here.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to introduce Keith Moore, the CEO of KDM Associates, and operator of the nation's only MBDA procurement center. Keith and his team empower minority business enterprises to compete successfully and win federal and state government contracts. Through expert guidance and close partnership with MBDA centers nationwide, he advances economic growth and the American ideal of prosperity for every hardworking entrepreneur. Keith, we are grateful for your dedicated service in strengthening our nation's business community and broadening the American dream. And I just want to add one thing. Keith has had the courage to bring this coalition together to create that Deming model that helped the economic explosion in Japan that we all saw in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Keith, did it seem like, I remember when I saw the first Die Hard movie and Bruce Willis went to Yakamoni Center, I believe, where that scene happened. And at that point in time, most Americans thought that Japan was going to buy America until they had their banking crisis in the 80s and 90s, where that became a brittle system. But the reason I want to bring that up is their economic advantage of a country of 60 million people was really putting the fear of the Lord into our U.S. manufacturers. And so in 1979, Dr. Deming brought Donald Peterson of Ford Motor Company brought Deming to America. They built the first Ford Taurus, and from there that became the best-selling car in the world, overtaking, I believe, the Toyota Corolla. The reason I bring this up is Keith has dynamically brought together this group of essentially 6 different companies, founding members with expertise and specialty in different areas of government contracting to help the people that are joining our Zoom call today. Keith, why don't you tell them just a little bit in just 2 minutes or less, and we'll get right into the presentation, starting with Nell, your vision and why you did all this.
Well, Mark, first I want to thank you for stepping in the ring, title of, as you know, a book of mine. And you really have inspired in a short period of time the entire consortium at a time when we are now about to, step into opening doors for folks who've experienced a variety of different volatile changes inside of federal contracting arena. As you know, I've been doing this since 2001. It's a pretty long time.
I
In
thought
those
you were
periods-
doing it. I thought you were doing it since Columbus started here. But
He discovered America, but I started in 2001 in August. Will be 25 years old of helping companies, not just minority businesses, small businesses, mid-size and large. But we've had to go through these, as you best described, economic cycles, global impacts that brought us to and brings us to right now. How does a small business become a mid-sized business and a large business support that supply chain that they have so much of a need on? And so, as you know, we've focused on policy. Our brand is where there's policy, there definitely is profit. So in this administration, with the levels of changes to include some impacts that included KDM, operator of the nation's only federal procurement center, back in, last year, April 30th.
why
I
did you
decided
bring
to
together the
privatize.
coalition? Why did you bring together the coalition? What was your vision in that?
Because
that?
the
I don't
collaboration.
mean to be the Bill O'Reilly of this show, but it's sort of my role, unfortunately. I need to keep everybody going and smooth and fast so I can retain the audience. Go, tell me quickly in 60 seconds or less, why did you bring this coalition together? What was the vision?
We are better in numbers, especially when you can bring a number of organizations who have proficiencies and capabilities and past performances that speak volumes to doing more with scale and be more valuable to both the government as well as corporations to get contracts and grow their business. And that's what the nation needs. That was 45 seconds. I'll defer.
From what I understand, and which Nell's going to get into shortly, this could essentially result, by joining the coalition, essentially that would result in it. Am I correct when I understand? Sounds like an infomercial now, and it sort of is in one sense, but it's really not. It's just truth. I saw on some of the slides as I was going through my prep for the show, I call it a show. It is sort of a show to me because that's the business I'm in.
It is.
80% faster, 80% faster, up to 80% faster application processes to the government. Is that correct?
Well, the executive order in DOW for sure. Long, heavy duty proposal writing, those days are numbered at best. And you need to have your articulation skills of presentation. How are you going to solve a problem? How are you going to create an innovation that solves a very direct problem?
Your team accesses that. And I guess that the thing is, I also saw one other point on your slide, which essentially said that you can get 2 to 5 times larger contracts through the process you have initiated in the consortium. Sounds like a James Bond term, consortium. I always keep on calling it coalition, but it sort of is a good consortium, like the Japanese consortiums are, right? That's what I'm sensing.
Yeah. Well, because we have opportunity identification, DoD performance and expertise, because we do conferences like you'll hear from Charles Sills, the next one coming up in the Navy, because we convene, because we have collaborative, even MOUs with like the National Hub Zone Council, focusing on rural communities, and where are many manufacturers around the country in rural communities where we need those jobs. And we just put it all together. We put AI in terms of it. We have a revolutionary system.
It's very innovative. Well, look, we're going to get into all that. We're going to start unpacking that. Nell is up next, and she's going to show us a bunch of really interesting slides, which I found fascinating. I also, once again, for anybody that's just joining us, I didn't get the background, and neither did Keith. We would have been much more, much more imposing with the right background.
Right, that's exactly right.
But at least I get to look up at the camera, and people don't see my turkey neck, which is my favorite part of this. Okay, Nell. Thank you very much, Keith. We're going to have a word from Keith later on. Peace out. Okay, so Nell, you're on. Nell, once again, let me just introduce her. I'm going to have to do this formally again. I'm going to have to repeat it so that everyone knows that it's joining us late. Do you mind?
No, not at all. Thank you, Mark.
I'm going to try to make it a little shorter.
All
anyway,
right.
Nell, I'm going to try to hold it up here and by the way, audience, I'm not side-eyeing you. I'm actually on an iPad right now. and I have to actually look at the corner of my screen to look straight at you. So whenever you see my eyes going that way, it's because I'm having to look at me looking straight looks like I'm looking sideways. Anyway, with all that said, welcome Nell Varenas, CEO of Strategic Plus Value Solutions. As I said earlier, she has performed distinguished service at Northrop Grumman, Toyota, Nike, and with other industry leaders. Nell stands as a true champion for American manufacturing, and she equips our nation's manufacturers with bold AI, automation, and Industry 4.0 strategies to overcome global pressures. Help me with this. What is a 4.0 strategy? I've heard 1, 2, 3. What is the 4.0 strategy? Can you unpack it? And then we'll get into your presentation. I don't mean to take you off track.
Sure,
I
no worries.
don't like structured. I hate super boring structured presentations. You're going to flow with yours, but what is a 4.0? What does this say? 4.0 strategy.
That refers
overcome global pressures. Go.
Yes, go. That refers to Industry 4.0, and that is to modernize modern manufacturing using technology.
Good. Okay. All right, Nell.
Okay.
You got to take it away.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mark.
Off the screen so I can blow my nose.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much. I would like to, let's see, share my screen here. Okay. Add to stage. Here we go. All right. So thank you so much, Mark. It's a pleasure to be with you here now. We are at a nexus in our country. And let's talk about it. Let me open with a simple question, and I promise there's no wrong answer. How many of you use something manufactured today? A car, a phone, a coffee maker, a piece of medical equipment, anything that had to be designed, machined, assembled, and delivered to you. Everyone, right? Of course. Manufacturing is the invisible backbone of modern life. We only notice it when the supply chain breaks, the shelves go empty, or a foreign competitor builds something cheaper, faster, and at scale that we used to build right here. That's exactly why we need to have this conversation, because what's happening in American manufacturing right now is depending on how you look at it. A crisis. Is it a comeback or the single most important industrial moment in a generation? I believe it's all three, and I'd like to walk you through it. Let's start with scale, because manufacturing doesn't get nearly the credit it deserves for how enormous it actually is. U.S. manufacturing contributes roughly $2.9 trillion to the GDP, and to put that in perspective, that's larger than the entire economy of France. If American manufacturing were its own country, it would be the 8th largest economy on the planet. There are approximately 13 million people directly employed in manufacturing in this country. And for every single one of those 13 million jobs, economists estimate that there are 4 to 5 additional indirect jobs created in logistics, supply chains, local services, and retail. That's not a jobs program. This is a force multiplier. And here is the number that surprises most people. Manufacturing firms fund approximately 55% of all private sector R&D in the United States. That's semiconductors, aerospace, advanced materials, biotech, pharmaceuticals, all manufacturing. So when someone tells you manufacturing is low tech, feel free to remind them that putting a satellite in orbit is also manufacturing, which incidentally requires a lot of it. Now, the uncomfortable part, because if manufacturing is so powerful, so vital, so innovative, why did the United States spend the last 4 decades quietly dismantling it? In 1979, America had roughly 19.5 million manufacturing jobs. By 2010, after NAFTA, after China's entry into the World Trade Organization, after the Great Recession, that number had fallen below 11.5 million, 8 million jobs gone in 30 years. The reasoning at the time seemed logical. Move production where labor is cheaper, focus America on services and intellectual property. Let the market sort it out. There was even a name for it, comparative advantage, which became in practice the academic permission slip to offshore domestic production and call it strategy. The problems we discovered painfully and publicly is that efficiency is fragile. In 2020, we couldn't manufacture enough personal protective equipment, for example. We couldn't produce enough semiconductors. We couldn't source basic pharmaceutical ingredients domestically. Entire industries had become dependent on a single country, a single port, a single supplier. A supply chain built for cost is not built for resilience, and we paid for that lesson. Take a look at this. Same 45-year window, opposite trajectories. While the United States lost 8 million manufacturing jobs, a 32% decline from our 1979 peak, China grew its manufacturing employment by 124%. 53 million workers in 1979, 139 million by 2010. These jobs didn't evaporate. They didn't disappear into thin air. They moved. The L curve that China rode upward is the exact mirror of the decline you just saw on the previous slide. Here's what I want you to hold on to. The same forces that drove those jobs east, trade barriers, cheap labor, policy incentives, are now reversing. The curve can move in the other direction, and we have the tools to make it happen. Here's something most people haven't connected yet, and it's one of the most significant economic shifts in 55 years. For the past 5.5 decades, foreign tariff barriers made it nearly impossible for U.S. manufacturers to compete globally on price. Our products faced duties and restrictions in Europe, in the UK, and in China that effectively locked us out of export markets and made offshoring look rational by comparison. The current administration's tariff policy, whatever you view of it politically, forced a negotiated response. The EU, the UK, and even China have lowered their barriers to US exports. For the first time in a generation, American manufacturers can compete globally on both price and quality. The real prize here is not the tariff revenue. The real prize is the export advantage. With AI and robotics driving domestic production costs down, and with those foreign barriers now lowered, we can compete head-to-head with China in global markets, and we can win. The potential: double the U.S. GDP within 5 to 7 years through manufacturing-led exports. That is not a political slogan. That's the math. And here's where the story turns. And it turns not just hard and fast, but at a scale that's almost difficult to fully comprehend. Since 2020, the United States has announced over $9 trillion in new domestic manufacturing investment. $9 trillion. In semiconductors, electric vehicles, clean energy, defense systems, advanced materials, and reshored supply chains across virtually every critical industry. To put that number in context, $9 trillion is roughly 3 times the entire annual federal budget of the United States. It's the largest, by a significant margin, coordinated investment in American industrial capacity since the Second World War. We've not seen capital deployed at this scale in this country in living memory. The CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act together set the policy framework. But it's private capital responding to the new reality of offshoring incentives, reshoring incentives, exporting community, and supply chain security that's driving the $9 trillion. Reshoring hit record levels in 2023, more than 287,000 jobs announced in a single year. Companies that had never considered building in the United States are now breaking ground across the Southeast, Midwest, and the Sun Belt. The comeback is real. It's not theoretical. It's not political. It's what's happening right now with $9 trillion committed, with contracts signed and with timelines already in motion. Here's the plot twist, and it is significant. All of this investment, all of this reshoring, $9 trillion flowing into new facilities, new contracts, new supply chains, and yet the supplier base that needs to meet this by demand is not ready. More OEMs are signing contracts and ramping production, and they are turning to their Tier 2 and Tier 3 suppliers, the small and mid-sized manufacturers who make the components, the precision parts, the subassemblies, and they're finding gaps. Gaps in quality systems, gaps in compliance and certification, gaps in digital capability, gaps in skilled workforce. There are 600,000 unfilled manufacturing jobs in the United States right now, not because demand doesn't exist. $9 trillion of demand does exist, but because the qualified supply of people and suppliers isn't keeping pace with the capital flowing in. It's not just 600,000, it's 600,000 unfilled manufacturing jobs times 5, the force multiplier we established at the start of this presentation. That's 3 million total jobs the United States economy is missing right now. Manufacturing, not just a job sector, it's the engine of the entire economy. When it stalls, everything downstream stalls with it. When it fires, everything downstream fires with it. Fill one manufacturing job and you create 5 more. The workforce issue deserves its own moment because it is the most human chapter of this story. The average age of a skilled manufacturing worker in the United States is 44 years old. Within the next decade, an estimated 2.1 million manufacturing jobs could go unfilled due to retirement alone. Before we account for a single new demand from $9 trillion of reshoring investment flowing into the economy. For roughly 40 years, we've defunded vocational programs. We've closed shop classes. We told an entire generation that working with their hands was a lesser path than working with a laptop. And now we are surprised that we don't have enough machinists, welders, quality technicians, and CNC operators. The bill is coming due, but the narrative is changing. Apprenticeship programs are growing. Community colleges are rebuilding technical curricula. Skilled trades now outpace many 4-year degree holders in earnings with zero student debt. Let me say this directly. Because there is a lot of fear in the market right now about AI and automation. AI is not the threat to manufacturing jobs. AI is how American manufacturers compete with and beat China. AI brings U.S. labor cost per unit down to competitive parity with offshore production without moving a single job overseas. That's the reversal of the entire economic logic that sent manufacturing abroad in the first place. And you don't need to be an AI engineer to harness it. You need to know how to communicate with it. Teams that master the prompt, that learn how to tell AI exactly what they need, become dramatically more productive almost immediately. That is a skill anyone can develop. Combine that with AI and robotics driving output up, and you can double U.S. manufacturing production capacity without doubling headcount. That translates directly to GDP growth, to export advantage, and to winning in global markets against China head to head If you don't use AI, you'll be out of business in 3 years. But if you harness it, it becomes your most productive employee. So let me bring this directly to you. The people in this room, because we're not here to observe this information, we are here to be part of it. We are here to expand the pie and the abundance in a collaboration of equals. For Tier 2 and Tier 3 manufacturers, this means a supplier readiness assessment that tells you exactly where your gaps are. It means pathways to ISO, IATF 16949, and AS 9100 certification. It means quality systems that pass an OEM audit. Digital tools that give your leadership real visibility, and workforce programs that build the next generation of skilled talent, including AI and robotics capability. For OEM buyers and prime contractors, this means a qualified domestic supplier base you can actually depend on, not as a contingency plan, but as a competitive advantage. Diverse, hub zone ready, audit ready, resilient. And for the Department of War, which depends on this industrial base for everything from fighter jet components to body armor, from hypersonic systems to battlefield communications, it means supply chain security for a world that is more contested and more dangerous than it has ever been in a generation. The policy window's open. $9 trillion in investment is flowing. The demand is real and it's waiting for qualified suppliers to meet it. The question is, who gets ready to claim it? Here's what I want you to leave with. American manufacturing is not in decline. It was underestimated, underfunded, and undervalued for about 4 decades. But the forces that made offshore look rational, that is, cheap labor, foreign tariff barriers, low logistics costs, are shifting. And a new set of forces, supply chain security, national defense, export opportunity, and $9 trillion in reshoring capital are pointing in the opposite direction. The factories are being built, the contracts are being signed, the investment is real. The only question remaining is who shows up ready to win it. If you know exactly where you stand and exactly what it would take to get you there, request a free supplier readiness assessment. The link's on the screen here. So we're inviting you also to join us in rebuilding American self-reliance, resilience, and anti-fragility. Thank you all for supporting the industrialization of America. And back to you, Mark.
Here I am again, everybody. Thank you very much, Nell. That was really interesting. I learned a few things there I hadn't known. I consider myself an economic nerd. So any case, it's my great pleasure to introduce you all to our keynote speaker. We're running about 8 minutes late, but it's okay. A little bit of chatter never hurt anything. Makes it more human. Because what we really are is we're all humans here. If you have corporations and titles and company names, it doesn't matter. They don't function without relationships. And relationships are the one thing AI can't do that we can. And that's relationships of trust and bonds of collaboration, which we all need. The next fellow that I'm going to introduce you to is a remarkable person. I met him a while back, and I actually flew out to see him. I had such a sort of a fascinating Zoom call with him. I couldn't believe I'd met anybody like him. And I'm not trying to butter him up. I actually sincerely mean this. You can look into my eye as I look at the corner of the screen and see I mean it. Because Israel David Duran is a leader of leaders. After that meeting, I flew to see him in, where was it? Boise? I met you in Boise, didn't I?
Yes, sir. Boise, Idaho.
And I sat there in absolute disbelief as we were supposed to have an hour-long dinner, and it turned into 5 hours, and people from the other room were watching us talk, and they came out and they said, we'd like to sit and watch you guys talk because there was something sort of meaningful going on there. And then he invited me to his three-day seminar, which is something he does exclusively for business manufacturing leaders entertainment heavyweights, and global leaders, many US leaders. And Israel David Duran is a remarkable man. And I'm going to make your head big, but I actually do mean it, because I met a lot of smart people in my life. And here I meet a guy much smarter than me. And I mean that too. I'm not being falsely humble about it. There's something about you, Israel, that I know I'm supposed to do a nice introduction, but I just want to make a sincere one. There's something about you I found so captivating. I know that you spend a day with businesses, $100,000 for one day with you, and you take 9 people that day on a private jet to a special location. You take their cell phones away and you help them with business planning. And then you have $1 million annual leadership program you do, and you've helped companies scale 5, 10, 20-fold very rapidly using a lot of interesting parallel marketplace strategies to truncate time and other things. The thing I found interesting, most fascinating, is with your crazy schedule, working even with major celebrities and athletes as well, and helping them build their brands, that you go to Africa in the areas that the police won't go to help young men and young girls and young women build their own businesses and learn entrepreneurialism so they don't fall into crime, and they can form meaningful relationships off of making a living and creating jobs for others. And you've done this in Central America. I've seen videos of it. I was fascinated by that. And so I just wanted to tell you what a remarkable opportunity we have, because when I called him, I think if you remember this, I said, I'd like you to consider doing a keynote for a very special group that can help US contractors, US industries, US manufacturing rebuild their jobs. And normally he gets paid $25,000 to $100,000 for a 30-minute keynote, just so everybody knows. And when he asked me, he says, well, Mark, you really believe in this? And I said, I do. I've known Keith and his wife, Stacy. God bless her and Keith's mother. I love them both. They're both good friends. My friend Keith is trying to make a difference. He's trying to bring collaboration back into the market, trying to do what they did in Japan and bring that here to help our contractors, help our government be more competitive, help our defense industries, help our manufacturing sectors and mining. And I just want to introduce you all. If you could applaud, I'd suggest it, but you can't. So take it away, Israel David Duran, my friend and a mentor.
Thank you so much, Mark, for the grace and the humility. I could say a lot about you as well. I want to make sure that my presentation is up on the screen. Can you all see that? I believe I'm sharing. Typically we use Zoom, but StreamYard is good. Can you all see the presentation that's up on the screen? Let me try to share again, one moment. But I was enjoying myself listening to Neil, listening to Keith, and seeing the alignment in presentation, because there's a lot of the points that Neil made, I will be also doubling down on. But I'm going to take the approach a little bit different on this presentation. Can you all see that, bridging the bridge? I'm not seeing it. Okay, let me see here. I could do another thing. I could click this button here and show it to you this way. Can you guys see that? Just want to make sure. Okay, awesome. Let's do that. The only other, the challenge that's going to be had with that is that you won't be able to hear the sound. But first off, I just want to thank Keith and Mark for the invitation. I'm typically, my value ladder is just for everybody to get to know me. I have 5 children. My value ladder in life is God number 1, family number 2, then it's my country, and then it's my clients, right? So I love what Keith is doing, and I really like what he's doing because it's in alignment with my core values and what Mark is about as well. And over the next 30 minutes or so, I want to have a conversation with you all. All of you are great leaders. You're all visionaries. You're in different places. I mean, we have the SBA, the Office of the SBA Office of Advocacy, federal agencies, procurement leaders maybe in the room, Hub Zone, 8A certifications, or small businesses that are certified by 8A, and other minority-based business owners may be joining us. But I wanted to take this conversation a little bit different, if that's okay, in the chat, because I wanted to speak to the core the core issues at hand when it comes to the country and kind of talk about some of these issues that we're all facing, not only with GDP, but with unity in this country. Because when we look at history, history tends to repeat itself. And I'm a student of history myself. And it's funny because, we shouldn't repeat the mistakes that we made in the past, but it's almost like, sometimes we don't learn, right? And I wanted to take this approach in this time to really just pour into your life as a leader of leaders as well, as somebody that is taking the stand to collaborate and to do things that few people will ever do because of really several issues that limit us as leaders. And we're facing a big and massive problem right now in the US. I mean, there's thousands of small businesses, especially manufacturing, which is, by the way, I'll have a slide on this. And Neil, you did a great job explaining it. I mean, manufacturing is one of the most important industries, not only for a country, but for the globe. And what's funny is I was at my cousin's birthday party this past week, and I met a 34-year-old tool maker, which is unheard of, right? Typically, the tool makers that I know, they're in between 50 and 60 years of age, right? And I was having this conversation with this tool maker, 34 years old. He works out here in a company in Connecticut. And he was surprised that I knew what he did, right? Because typically he was saying, Israel, typically when I tell people what I do, they're like, well, what is a tool maker? What is that? You play with like tools? It's like, no, it's kind of something different. So he was kind of relieved in hearing me actually value and appreciate what he's doing. And the company he's working for right now has an apprentice program. But I said to him, I encouraged him, I said, man, we need more people like you in this space because there's a massive problem right now. Apart from us not finding the talent, there's talent here. The challenge is the education, right? And that's where you come in. That's where your company, that's where your influence comes in. That's where your value, that's where what you bring to the table is so important. You are the solution. You are the bridge. And Keith is just a connector here with what he's putting together. So we have a serious issue right now in the US and abroad. We have hub zone and undeserved businesses face barriers to access because of compliance, lack of funding in many cases. One of the slides I have is on the CMMC. That's a requirement that from November 2025, the Department of War is now requiring for pretty much every small business to get their cyber maturity model certification. The challenge with that is that that's an investment. I mean, most companies have to pay anywhere from $40,000 to $75,000 to do it. And that is, I mean, for manufacturing companies, that's a challenge, right? So who's going to step up to the plate to help these small businesses? Who's going to actually create an environment where federal buyers, OEMs, and primes can actually work together and have a way that we can tackle this issue together like some of the other countries have done, right? And there's a challenge right now with supply chain, but there's also an opportunity because of policy, Keith. And Keith says this statement, which I really like: policy with profit or profit with policy. But we can only profit with policy if we understand our purpose. If we understand that you could profit with the purpose, you could profit with policy if you understand our purpose. And unfortunately, until now, we haven't really been doing a great job. We got to be fully transparent here, guys. The first step of solving a problem is to identify it, right? And here's the reality. Alone, we will lose. Type in the chat if you agree with me, because I typically like to see people when I'm presenting, and I'm more of an interaction. I like to interact, but type in the chat if you agree with me. Alone, we will lose. I mean, growing up, I played baseball, and baseball is a team sport, but there's some individual plays. But if we didn't collaborate as a team, we would lose the game, right? So the reality is that there are 600, actually, this is a conservative number. The number is actually a little bit more, but there's 600, let's just put it that way, unfilled manufacturing companies. And if we take a 4-to-1 ratio, a 4.5 a ratio on that, it's going to go into the millions. I mean, this is guaranteed. And it's not that we lack the talent or ability. I believe we lack the education and collaboration, which is what the KDM Consortium brings to the table. But it's also because we lack the unity. We lack the unity. And there's a graph I want to play here. I'm going to try to realign my screen here to make this happen. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see that there because I don't want you to miss this. Can you all see that? Awesome. So here's the reality. It's not that China outbuilt us. I mean, this is a graph of showing the decline that Neil did a great job of showing. She had a better slide than I in terms of sharing the framing of how U.S. manufacturing jobs have gone low and then China has increased beyond measure. It's not because they outbuilt us. I mean, I personally believe the United States of America is the best country in the world, period. But China did something that we didn't. And we got to be fully transparent here. They out-collaborated us. And that's why the decline happened. Because this is just a simple principle. A house divided against itself is not going to stand. There has to be unity to be able to go forward. Even children can teach you that. So what's the solution? And I'm going to have fun with you guys on this, the 27 minutes I have left. I'm going to have a couple stories. Some of you will laugh, but the stories are going to teach you some principles. Many of the principles you may already know, but they're very essential. And when I was preparing for this presentation, I really took a lot of time in really thinking through, okay, what are the principles and the laws that I can teach that can just encourage these leaders on this call today? Because this isn't a lone space. I mean, many of us feel alone. How many of you in the chat could be vulnerable for a moment and say that, hey, there's times in business when you're looking to grow, especially in the government contracting space, and you're looking to move forward. Sometimes there's a lot of it's like we're kind of like siloed and isolated, right? And isolation and being siloed is not the environment of breakthrough and growth. But here's what happens. When people don't have access to real-time information, they can't make the decisions. You know, where the federal, public sector, and private sector opportunities are moving. What I like about KDM, which I'm going to touch about in a second, is that the 5 pillars that are positioned are in alignment with what the government's values are and where they're pivoting. So there's an alignment there, right? So the solution is also includes small to mid-sized companies. We need early signals, right? It's the same thing with investors. I myself as an angel investor, one of the biggest things that I face is getting early buying signals, right? And instead of having to go through a lot of different decks and things, how can I get an early signal and an opportunity that's going to be the next big thing, right? The beautiful thing about this space that you're in right now, don't make a mistake about it, that you're in a room full of people that see the curve and they see what's coming ahead. And you staying connected to a room like this is going to give you the advantage to be able to have those early signals to get into position to receive opportunities that can sustain your employees, your families, and sustain the vision that you've been given to be a leader in the space that you're in. So your voice needs to be heard as well. You know, it's like I have a slide later on to talk about this, but this is part of the solution. Your voice needs to be heard. And one of my clients, 80-year-old manufacturing company out here on the Northeast, there's a mom and pop shop, as they say, and, you know, 3rd generation. And they work with some big OEMs, but many times they're seen as just a small mom and pop and their voice is not heard. See, I personally believe that that's not fair. I believe in a country, if you study history and you go back to the 1950s, 1970s, there was a different culture. And you have an opportunity to bring that culture back, especially with the government's initiatives just in 2026. So we're going to talk about this. So companies also need clarity on procurement. You know, I want everybody to really take an assessment. You are the answer. You are the expert that the government is searching for and your contemporaries are searching for too. They don't know what you know. The knowledge that you think is so easy to you is actually somebody else's treasure. Write that down. The trash that you think that you have is somebody else's treasure. But if you're just isolated, you can miss the opportunity to create a connection. So the 5 pillars under one engine that KDM stands for, and what we're aligning our pillars for to align to what the government is doing, Remember, whenever there's alignment for an assignment, there's acceleration. Whenever there's alignment with an assignment, there's acceleration. If there's not an alignment for the assignment, delay typically happens. So you have government contracting, pillar number one, manufacturing and supply chain, which are critical to any economy at the lowest levels and at the highest levels because of energy and job creation. Critical minerals, which is massive. This country has a lot of opportunity, right? And I believe in this next season, over the next 5 years, there's going to be a lot of new things unlocked, a lot of opportunities just for critical minerals. And opportunity zones, which is massive, and access to capital. So I want to dive into the reality of my first story. There's two different ways of growing. You as a leader right now in your business, there's only really two paths forward. And if you guys could see this really quickly, this is a path of linear growth. So what happens many times when people get into business, or they're in a position of a C-suite, or they're in a position of leadership and they're very educated and they're very polished and they're very smart, many times there's a mindset that will go into the company that will actually limit growth. And that mindset is called the linear mindset. Okay, the ethos of it is when somebody thinks of growing, I wonder how we can grow 10% a year. I wonder how we can grow 20% a year. And that's very limiting, especially in a environment where you need to have opportunities to be able to sustain your overhead, your costs, your expansion costs, and make sure that you provide food for the families that you're employing, right? So instead of having a linear growth, what you could see what happens, right? It's when a company, there's typically an investment made, as you can see there, and there's a break-even point, and then there's a process of growth, right? But when I studied, because I study history, and I study all the top companies of the last 500 years and their growth change and what they've done, and I have an example here in a moment that I'll share with you. When I study the biggest companies, even now today that are actually growing, like, I don't know about you guys, but I want to know like the reason why they grow, right? How many of you in the chat with a yes would agree that you want to know like how they grow, and not only how they grow, but how they grow in an exponential way? See, the difference between linear growth and exponential growth is that exponential growth happens with speed. It's not just about growing your company from 10, 20%, but if you're anything like me, I want to know what happens at these intersections. Like, I want to know what happens at intersections of people's businesses where they grow not just 10%, but they grow 100%, 200%, 500%. How many of you in the chat with a yes? Because if I was seeing you live, I love to interact. You want to know what happens as those intersections of growth, right? Because in business, especially if you're a second, third generation company, there's always an investment, right? Everybody knows this. And then there's a path of growth. And again, the linear mindset teaches you that this is how you grow, more or less, with curves. What I found is that that's not the way that the biggest companies grow and the companies that sustain, and that's not the way that China grew. How did they grow? Well, they grew like this. It's gonna look funny, but bear with me. That's how they grow. Where not just 10, 20% happens, but 100, 200% happens. Now, if you're anything like me, this is what the graph is showing. I want to know what happens at these intersections. How many of you in the chat want to know what happens at these intersections? Type in yes in the chat. Because if we can save time and buy back our time, that's valued for at least me, right? And thank you, Brian, for communicating in the chat. So going back to the presentation here. So there's a linear path of growth and there's an exponential path of growth. And there's certain things that happen at those intersections, which again, China understood. And for some reason, some strange reason, here in America, we're a little bit behind until today. I want to tell you a quick story of Coca-Cola. Now, I'm not a supporter of Coca-Cola. This isn't an advertisement for Coca-Cola. But like I said, I'm a student of history, and I like to uncover value and teach practical principles that can help people and show people what others have done. Coca-Cola is a manufacturing company. They have a certain product, which you're aware of. And the CEO at the time, Robert W. Woodruff, he, back in the early 1920s, made a decision that was very massive. You see, in the early 1900s, Coca-Cola was having a major issue. They were having an issue where people were loving the Coke product when it was cold, but most stores and roadside stops and gas stations did not have reliable refrigeration. So there would be an inconsistent and warm Coca-Cola product, which is not good. I mean, I don't drink soda anyways, but I mean, warm soda, that's like not really good, right? So the CEO at the time had to make a decision because they did invest in, well, the leadership as well. They invested in refrigeration, but the leadership, they realized something very powerful. And I feel like the same thing is happening right now with KDM. They realized that if they could control the temperature and availability, that they could control the consumption frequency, which changed everything. And that insight, bear with me here, that insight changed the company. So Coca-Cola made a decision to pioneer, and they were one of the first companies to really bring in self-service refrigerated beverages, which changed the game. And at the time, the CEO wanted to get it distributed and implemented at the gas stations and the roadside places where Coca-Cola was really hot. And to his surprise, when he would go, watch me now, don't miss it, when he would go and pitch this to the CEOs and the owners of these gas stations, to his surprise, they actually rejected it. At first, they didn't want it because it was something new, right? It was like something like strange to them. And the CEO, Robert, he had to make a decision where he had to figure this out. How can I get this system in to solve the problem so we can really make sure we serve our clients, right? Which is really what we should all look to do in business, which is to serve and give people a better experience. So he, against his marketing, his board, he decided to make a crazy investment, and believe it or not, in billboards. Because what he did is he studied the highways around where the greatest distribution was happening. He looked at the numbers, and he studied the highways of where Coca-Cola was really high up there in sales. And he decided to make an investment that would be, in today's age, a significant investment in buying billboards against his marketing, against his board. And he went to the CEOs that once rejected this idea of them implementing this new refrigerator system. And he would go to them and say, hey, I got a gift for you. And he would come up and he would show them this beautiful billboards that would have, marketing for the gas station. But it would also at the bottom right contain a little sign, many times a little bit bigger, that would say, cold Coca-Cola here. And the billboard would look 5 times better than the billboards that these gas stations had because they weren't really good at marketing. So when the CEO would come and say, hey, I got this gift for you, the CEOs would be, the gas station owners would be so surprised. They'd be like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And then they would look at the sign. They would be like, well, wait a second. There's something down here on the right. What does this have? What is this sign over here that says Coca-Cola here? And Robert would say, don't even worry about it. We're going to install those refrigerators that I told you. We're going to install them for free at no cost. You'll be able to sell more Coca-Cola. You'll make more of a profit, and you're able to also leverage it for other things. And now the gas station owners would be like, oh, yeah, whatever. That's fine. And then watch me now. Don't miss it. Because of an insight. Can you guys hear me? I want to make sure you guys can hear me. Okay, my audio's off. One sec. I'm going to switch the time sake. I want to finish on time. What about now? Can you hear me better? Thank you, Brian, by the way. Awesome. So because of an insight, which, by the way, these are the 4 levels of insight. I just wanted to throw this in and just bless you with some leadership perspective. These are really important. Because of an insight, understanding where they were, what they have, and the capabilities they brought to the table, that's what gave them the opportunity to leverage. And I'll show you what happened in a moment to Coca-Cola's revenue. to leverage. But let me just share with you these other three. Foresight is number two. Seeing where opportunities, initiatives, and funding priorities are moving before they arrive. Gotta have, see, I can always tell someone's leadership by the influence that they have, because influence is the measurement of leadership. But I can always tell somebody's a capacity on the leadership team by how many levels they're activating. Then you have hindsight. Hindsight is learning from what has worked and what has failed and what patterns should guide better decisions. And then you have oversight. Oversight is extremely important because it's all about quality control, but also integrity and humility. Having a structure, accountability, and advocacy needed to navigate procurement and execute with confidence. So that's just a little plug for leadership development. But here's what happened to Coca-Cola's revenue. Coca-Cola's revenue went exponential. And you know what happened to the gas station owners? Their revenue also went up. Why, Israel? Because what happens at those little intersections of growth is what I call the principle of strategic collaboration and partnership. That's what happens. And guess what? How do we translate this now to 2026? And Mark, I'm about to be over time, so I have other slides, but I'm gonna cut it here because of time's sake, and I want to be respectful. How this translates, my family, my friends, is gone are the days of doing things alone. I got to tell you this with love and great conviction. You walk alone in this life, especially in the age that we're about to go into, businesses won't survive. Because these countries, they collaborate. China collaborates, and America is too busy fighting each other. I'm here to tell you that you have an opportunity through this system here, through Keith, through the process that they built out, it went before, to put together an opportunity where you can collaborate to create exponential growth. And you know what? Not only exponential growth, but a quantum leap. That's what's about to happen. Coca-Cola wasn't just an anomaly. I could tell you the same thing that happened with Wrigley's gum. I could tell you the same thing happened with Amazon. I could tell you the same thing happened with Toyota. I could tell you the same thing happened with Starbucks. I mean, I can go on and on. Success leaves clues. I want to thank you for your time. I hope that the last 30 minutes or so, hopefully I was under 30 minutes, add value, gave you perspective, and encourage you to continue. You are a leader. You are the answer that this country needs. It's time to step in to your place because they're waiting for you. Thank you, Mark.
Israel, can you come back on for a second? Can you turn your camera back on? I want to interview you just real quick, if you don't mind, if you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Israel, I love the case studies. I've done those many times. That's what McKinsey and Company does when they're analyzing how to solve corporate dilemmas, often corporate drama, which is unnecessary and actually leads to slower decisions. In fact, in some of the there's an old story about how the CIA used to find ways of slowing down competitors in foreign countries. They get working groups together and slow down the competitive process, converting what is natural collaboration into a bureaucratic stop point so that our country could beat the enemy, right? And when that starts to occur by an absence of leadership, I've watched what you've done before, and you've talked about acceleration occurring through collaboration, but not the kind that people are used to, which is a boring meeting where everybody talks a lot, nothing gets done. That's like what the CIA does to foreign enemies to slow down their innovation. Can you speak to that for a second?
100%. And one of this is just a tad bit, just a
By the way, your other audio was better. Your other audio, can you switch back to the other audio?
You give me 1 sec. Let me just reset it.
Good, because I like the other audio before. I'm just an audio guy, so I have an ear for that.
Check 1, 2. Is that better?
Better, far better. So anyway, you were saying, go on.
Yeah. So one of the key, I guess this is a secret that we do internally, but I'll share it openly here to just help everybody here. For any time the government is looking to hire, because one of the arms we have internally is a talent acquisition arm, is we get people come to us and say, hey, we need 20 jobs. We're looking for 20 people in these demographics, and we have a whole process to acquire that talent. But one of the things that we've done is we actually study what the CIA does, because think about this. The CIA has what we call a black budget, So all these numbers that you see that the government posts, the CI has a budget that it's bigger than what most people think. I don't know the number myself, but I know it's more. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you go on the CIA's website and you go to their procurement and their job postings, that's where you can see where the future's going. Who they're hiring is who you should potentially be collaborating with and hiring. And you know what the amazing thing, Mark, about the KDM coalition here is that a lot of the alignment of the CI and all these three-letter agencies, which are doing a great job at the most part, is that they're hiring essentially the essence of what are in those 5 pillars that the KDM coalition. And I don't know if Keith knows that specifically, like how deep it goes, but because of the research that I've done and what I'm connected to, it's in alignment. So being a part of a community like this, like they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together in a group. Israel David Durant says, look, if you want to go faster and farther and with speed, go together in a community. Now, there was a slide I had, Mark, that I wanted to share.
Throw it up.
I wanted to share this, Mark, because when I was thinking through this,
I'm not eating into the other presenters' time, by the way.
No,
I'm fascinated, and I think the audience is too. And I think they'd feel shortchanged if we let you go now. So, can you throw those slides up?
Yeah, if so, you probably see a little fish up right now, right?
Yep.
You see that? So there's a fish up right now on my screen. Now, some of you are like, well, what is this fish doing here? The fish is there because when I was really thinking through this, I said, you know what? I would like to teach them a principle that I teach for world-class leaders that make a massive difference. I mean, I have taught this to 8- and 9-figure earners that when they hear me teach them this, they get a massive breakthrough in terms of clarity and things fall off of them so they can go forward with full force and they see exponential growth, relationships get restored, more peace in their life. So I added it in, not because it had to do anything with manufacturing, but it had to do with the way we're manufactured within. And I'm a big believer that if you are a person as a leader, this is the trap that leaders go through, Mark. When you live a bad experience, you can't go and project that bad experience to everybody else and every other group that you meet. Because what will happen is they could create self-sabotage. So I have a quick story. All I need is 3 minutes.
No.
For this, that's okay.
Let's give you 6 minutes, double it. I'm fascinated. I think the audience is too, and we have to serve the audience after all. And they'll promise to listen to the other presenters, which are just amazing, coming up for the 6 minutes. I'll speak on behalf of the audience.
Well, thank you, and because my heart is to serve here. And so there's a little fish one day, and this little fish, he was hungry. I mean, this fish was hungry, and it was swimming in a certain part of the sea, and it saw a shrimp, and it was about that time right now, like lunchtime on the East Coast, and it saw the shrimp, and it was like, this is my lunch. So before the fish went to make a move to eat the shrimp, it took a quick look to the left, it looked to the right, it looked down, it looked up, just to make sure there was no predators, right? And he saw that the coast was clear. So he went and he made his move to try to go eat the shrimp. And then right when he was about to go eat the shrimp, Mark, he was literally like an inch away. Here comes a bigger and more stronger fish, and it comes and it hits him. It kind of like, skins it with his fins, and it injures this smaller fish, and it steals the lunch, steals the shrimp. So I have a question for the audience. How do you think that little fish is feeling? I mean, imagine he's hungry. I mean, how would you feel? You're hungry. You're looking for food. You found food. It's rightfully yours. You look to the right, look to the left, up and down to see if there's no predators. And then right when you're about to go eat the shrimp that's yours, here comes somebody else and grabs the shrimp, injures you. So now you're hurt and you're still hungry. How would you feel? This is a real question mark, by the way, because I'm not trying to put a show on here. I want the interaction.
I self-identify as a fish. So just so you know that.
Yeah. Well, here's the reality. Most people tell me, well, I would feel hurt. I'd feel like I can't trust anybody. I would second guess myself. This is important. Humility comes before growth.
We've all had that.
And I have had my share as well.
Mm.
So here's what the fish does, to make a long story short, and I got 60 seconds. The fish goes and swims to a whole nother area of the ocean. Like, I'm talking about a whole nother area. I'm speaking to somebody, Mark, by the way. I know I'm talking to somebody.
Mm.
And this fish is now swimming in a whole nother part. It's run away from the point of trauma.
Mm.
And now it's really hungry. I'm talking about really, really hungry. Like on Thanksgiving, when you haven't ate anything and you're ready for that, you know, you guys know what I'm talking about. And then you fast on purposely that day to make sure you can eat. It's really hungry. Imagine that times 10. And finally, it finds another shrimp. Same scenario, different ocean. It sees the shrimp, it locks in on it. Again, it looks to the right, to the left, looks to the right, looks down, looks up. And there's no predators. Right before that fish is about to go eat the shrimp, and it's about to eat it, about an inch away, it makes a decision to swim away.
Why?
Now, some of you may say, well, it's because another fish came. There was no fish. The coast was clear. That shrimp was for this fish. He could have ate it. But he made a decision to swim away. Why?
It's because of the trauma.
Yeah. Because of the trauma.
Got it.
Now, what does this have to do with manufacturing, the 5 pillars, government contracting, growing my businesses, hosting better events? What does this have to do with this, Israel? What does this fish story have to? It has to do with everything. Because I'm here to tell you that if you allow a bad experience, bad trauma that happened in an isolated ocean to affect this new season that's before you, and you swim away,
good point.
You self-sabotage, the biggest opportunity that you have that has been known since history. One of the slides I didn't even share, 1.5 trillion by 2026. And there's more coming, by the way, because there's some other inside stuff that I know. There's going to be more coming.
You mean government? I'm
talking about government opportunities. Because perhaps,
by September 30th, 2026,
by the fiscal year end,
the coalition is here, which is why the coalition. I'm not trying to. I know you're going there, but that's why Keith and the people that are going to present today are here to help the audience take advantage
100%
of that, and the fact that there's less bureaucracy because the administration has cut a lot of the paperwork burden to invite in the military contractors and the smaller innovators, as I said in my open, that they're literally screening out, making them hopelessly dependent on the giant contractors, which God bless them, we need the big ones. But the innovation factor with the big companies is so slow. The government,
it's all about speed.
Exactly. And the government
speed with excellence.
So I want you to go on, because it seems like the government is trying to drop those technical barriers, make it easy for people to come in, which is another reason why the KDM Consortium exists, right? And that's what we're going to get into after your excellent presentation. But continue going on.
I'm done here. 30 seconds, and I'll give it back over to the leader.
Stop the time. Forget. Take 5 more minutes if you need it. Go.
30 seconds is all I need, Mark, to share this. And this may not be for everybody, but I'm here to speak to at least one person on this. If you have had an experience in the past where you've been taken advantage of, where you've been sabotaged, where it didn't work out, I get it. I've been there. I have my scars as well. But I want to just encourage you to let you know that this season is different for you. Don't self-sabotage yourself. Don't second-guess yourself. If you need access, if you need clarity, if you need to collaborate, you have an opportunity here. I hope that these principles, these stories have been a benefit to you. But this is your season. They're looking for you. And sometimes through some of these strategic connections, opportunities can happen and be brought to your doorstep, and vice versa, where it creates a win-win-win for everybody. You win, collaboration wins, and ultimately the municipalities and the government wins. If we don't step up to the plate, to use a baseball analogy, to at least swing the bat, let's just say it may not be the best thing for this country. This is we're at a pinnacle right now, and this is real. And I love to have fun, and I like to, but we are at a moment in time where this moment, this opportunity will not be here forever. And there's an opportunity for a quantum leap. I didn't even get into quantum computers, which I won't.
How
My
big
30 seconds is up. Here's the
How
mic,
big
Mark.
No. Let me close by asking two final questions. How big a window do you think that is with AI adoption and quantum computers becoming commercial? Since February 9th of this year,
Look,
they broke the code to stable quantum computing, which means quantum computing might exist in 15 months. We could see material science advance 100 years by 2032. And this leads me back to the conclusion that taking advantage of these lowered tariff barriers that are almost gone for Europe and the rest of the world, we can export using AI and embodied robotics to lower our costs and create full employment, doubling our GDP. And right now, the fearmongers about AI and robotics, they're trying to make everybody believe they're going to lose their jobs, when really what's going to happen is all the skilled laborers are going to double the output of this country and get higher paying jobs as a result. But for one factor, they have to learn how to utilize AI the way you have and I have. Even though I'm very bad with apps, I'm really good with AI. And could you just speak to that for a second? And then I want to ask you one final question. I'll let you go because I know you're busy.
yes, and I had a slide up here.
Throw it up.
That it may not show up on the screen. I'll talk about the bullet points here. I had a slide on here to talk about how much time we have. It's not about having fear of missing out on an opportunity. It's about having the understanding of what we call first principles. And Elon Musk talks a lot about this. McDonald's is another company. I study companies, guys. That's what I do. McDonald's, the reason why they are number one as a hamburger company is not because they had the best hamburger, but they were the first to market to create a sustainable, or I should say, a decent hamburger. And they also leveraged the first principles of real estate. In the same way, there's an opportunity over the next, I would say, 12 to 18 months to get into position, to have opportunities that could sustain you and your company for the next 5 to 15 years plus. Because one of the other slides I had is a World War II slide. And one of the things that happened during that time is the same thing that's happening now. People don't realize it. It's the same thing. When all the men had to be shipped out, there was a unity that brought together. Unfortunately, this is sad, but this is what happens. There was a unity that brought together the country to work together, to collaborate. The women had to step in, right?
Yep.
And there was a unity that happened with manufacturing companies. It was massive growth, right? That same thing is about to happen. And I personally believe, I don't get anything by me saying this, so this is just me really speaking sincerely. What Keith is doing and bringing people together is the prerequisite of bringing together the troops and going to war. A war on jobs, a war on sustainability, to make sure we protect the financial future of our children and our grandchildren in this country. And I sincerely mean that. History repeats itself. And I don't know what it is. I don't know and now here's the thing about this, Mark. We live in a society where information and knowledge is available at our fingertips, but it's crazy how ignorant people still are. And I hate to say it that way. And we all have a sense of ignorance. But we live in a culture where we as leaders, we cannot afford to repeat history. We have to put aside our differences. We have to look to collaborate and strategically come together for purposes that are greater than just I and being correct or being wrong. It's going to take some humility and coming to the table to putting this around. And I believe we could do it. I believe we're the best nation in the world. And I believe people on this call and are listening to this recording, you are part of that solution.
I love that. And I want to ask you one final question. We've been speaking with Keith. I introduced him to you on a Zoom call. Would you consider helping this KDM Consortium in some manner?
Are you asking me directly?
I don't want to put you on the spot.
100%. My values align to this. We're already doing some of the work that that we're doing. Again, I wanted to come out here just to give value. I
apologize for putting you on the spot, but I know you have a heart for manufacturing and you have a heart for government contracting. People don't realize that Israel studied. He wanted to be a member of the FBI, and he studied cybersecurity, right? And he built one of the largest. as a young man, he built one of the largest security systems for some of the top legal firms in the United States. And he's better off for all of us that he didn't join the FBI, because he now leads. And let me make the statement. Am I saying this right when I tell the people that you have basically 250,000 people that are in your sphere of influence, with 30,000 of them close in, business leaders that could be electrified if you could sort of lend some support. We know you're busy, but even an hour a week is all I request on behalf of Keith, and I get paid nothing for this. You know, I have a heart for manufacturing and I love our country. I'm bringing in semiconductor manufacturing companies, material science companies, to make incredible weight to density ratios using graphene as a battery, so that commercial air flight becomes possible with long ranges without heat issues because of leading edge technologies. AI companies that allow you to use AI without losing your intellectual property, and on guardrails that stop them from hallucinating. These are the areas I'm focused in because it helps our country. So I really appreciate you're open to that, and I'll set up a meeting with you and Keith again. Maybe we'll fly down there, or I'll fly if my schedule, maybe if it coincides, we'll find a way to do that and meet with some other coalition members. But I'm just very grateful for your time today. And I want to thank you sincerely. It was very moving what you said. And I'm not saying that because I'm the MC, even though most MCs would say that. I say it because I mean it. And I do mean it. And I thank you sincerely on behalf of the KDM Consortium.
Thank you. And it's been an honor here. I'm going to be listening in once we drop, but I do have a hard stop coming up. But thank you. And I hope that we all found value in the conversation. But thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Israel. Okay. Miranda is going to come up next, and I'd like the honor of introducing her. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to, it is my distinct honor to introduce Miranda Bolden. She's the founder and CEO of LogicCore Corporation, a proud woman-owned defense contractor dedicated to our warfighters and the protection of critical infrastructure. With expertise in logistics, cybersecurity, zero trust architectures, which Nell helped me understand, and engineering, Miranda delivers mission-ready solutions to the Department of Defense, intelligence communities. A passionate advocate for small businesses and publisher of vital defense and technology briefs, Miranda embodies the innovative spirit that keeps America strong and secure. Miranda, welcome. Your work strengthens our country. Miranda, let me ask you something before I put you on, so this just isn't a stale, boring presentation. Did you take anything away from what Israel said just now? What's your first reaction? Give me your flash reaction on what he said. And it doesn't have to be, if there's anything nice to say, there's a lot of nice things. Any observations just before your presentation?
Absolutely. Mr. Duran, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. I tell you, learning is for a lifetime. And so I was very inspired. I love everything you said, particularly about going at it alone and needing to have that relationship and to have these conversations. As you mentioned before, the other countries are having conversations. Why aren't we having those conversations? So this is the beginning, the consortium. That's what we're doing today. And I just appreciate you taking time. And I hope that we can find a way to continue to work with you and to share a lot of those leadership nuggets with our consortium members.
Well, and that's to Israel, obviously. And I'm going to help Keith as much as I can because I believe in this. So let's let you sort of take over the camera now and go through your presentation. And I'm just enjoying the whole thing so far. So thank you, Miranda. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So once again, thanks so much for all of you and your leadership. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the consortium. Thank you, Mr. Keith Moore, for bringing everyone together. We look forward to having the consortium to continue to grow as we look to add value, add vendors, and to be able to provide those support services to the small business community. Now is that time. So I am Miranda Bolden, CEO of LogicCore Corporation. We're proud to be a founding member of the KDM Consortium, and we support the Department of Defense in logistics, critical infrastructure, and mission environments where performance matters. A lot of people hear terms like cyber resilience or mission assurance, and they think that it only applies to major defense contractors. But what we're seeing right now is that small businesses are being pulled into the shift more fast than they realize. And so that's really kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Not just compliance, not cybersecurity, but how are we positioning and who gets selected for those contracts. Next slide, please. All right. So one thing that I've learned working in government is that sometimes it's not just about the proposal. The government is actually looking for not just products, but they're also buying things like reliability, they're buying continuity, and they're also buying confidence in our systems as we continue to operate under extreme pressure. Things like war and things like the challenges, cybersecurity, network infrastructure, all of those things are also at war. So as we're writing proposals, we're also thinking about how we are postured to help protect the systems that support our proposals and support our mission. And so those things change how the evaluators are looking at our proposals. And for small businesses, this creates both an opportunity and a challenge, because many companies actually have strong capabilities already, but they're describing themselves in a way that may not necessarily match the organization's mission. Next slide, please. Okay, so most companies focus heavily on certifications, registrations, and compliance requirements. And of course, those things really do matter, and we absolutely need them. But what we do know is that compliance alone is really not a differentiator anymore, specifically because it's going to be required. A lot of those compliance measures are absolutely required. So what is the real question that these agencies are asking? They're asking, can a company support mission continuity? Can they operate in these contested environments where downtime actually really matters? And can the contractors integrate into our larger operational ecosystem? And so those are very different conversations. And that's why many qualified companies are struggling to win these larger opportunities. Next slide, please. So one of the biggest mistakes we see is companies trying to pursue contracts alone. And I think that was discussed in Israel's presentation about going at it alone. And so that's really a big deal. So meanwhile, if you're going at it alone, these larger opportunities are often established within these networks and ecosystems, exactly what we're proposing to put together. They are thriving through existing mission relationships and integrated teams. So the issue may not be always your capability, it could be about how we are positioned. And sometimes it's about visibility in that positioning. And so sometimes it's simply not just being connected, but being connected in the right environment. And so that's why our relationships need to be aligned as much as our technical capability. Any questions there? All right, next slide, please. So what do we actually do at Logicor? So at Logicor, as I mentioned before, we've been a defense contractor in the business for right at a little over 20 years now. I started the company as a sophomore in college, supporting the Department of Defense, and have pretty much been doing that ever since. And so heavily into the cybersecurity arena, heavily into logistics. We are a logistics prime contractor for the Army and have been since 2009. And so at Logicor, one of the ways that we also, in addition to supporting the government, we help companies to translate what they are doing into mission relevant positioning. What does that mean? We help organizations to understand where the true capability is and how the organizations are actually looking at that and evaluating risk, and how resilience is becoming a part of the selection process. Because right now agencies are increasingly evaluating the operational impact and not just the technical checklists that we're also familiar with. And companies understand that shift. They're going to have the major advantages to winning. Slide number 6. Next slide, please. So we've already seen how quickly government priorities can evolve, such as CMMC. Many companies initially viewed it as optional, and we were one of the first adopters of CMMC back in 2019. We were directly audited, and so it was a good thing. And so as you can see now, it's evolving. We have someone that's going to talk a little bit more about CMMC coming up next. So I'll kind of leave that to them. But we believe that cyber resilience is also following a similar path. And that's one of the biggest shifts inside our conversation is what we call zero trust. And so what is zero trust? That is a buzzword I'm sure you guys are hearing a lot about when it comes to contracting. But basically, the essence of zero trust is exactly what it says. Never automatically trust a user, a device, a system, or a connection, but always verify. Even if someone is already within your network, we want to verify. And that's where most of the agencies are moving to. For many agencies, zero trust is no longer viewed as part of just the IT framework, but it's becoming a part of the organization and how they think about operational continuity, how they segment roles and responsibilities, resilience, and mission assurance. It's not simply whether or not a company is compliant, but it's whether our systems, operations, and partners can consider functioning when the conditions are considered difficult. Next slide, please. So this is where our contracts are moving. This shift is especially visible in operational technology infrastructure systems, logistics environments, as well as other mission-critical programs. Anywhere operational downtime creates real-world impact. That could be anywhere, even within your own systems, in your own work environment. And the interesting thing is, though, many small businesses already have the capabilities to support these environments, but they may not realize just how valuable their expertise is becoming around resilience, bidding on those opportunities, continuity, and the operational reliability. Next slide, please. So when companies ask how to better position themselves, we usually focus on three things. First, do they understand the actual mission outcome of the organization and not necessarily just the scope language? Second, framing the capability in terms of the actual operational impact, not simply on the features or services stated within the scope, but the actual operational impact. And third, aligning themselves with the active delivery ecosystem, because being connected to those environments where the real work is actually happening dramatically changes the opportunity access. Next slide, please. One of the mindset shifts we encourage is this. Don't always think of yourself as just a vendor, but think of your capability and how it contributes to the actual mission success. And so that changes how we actually communicate, how we pursue those opportunities, and how larger partners actually perceive our value. And the companies that succeed long-term are going to be the ones that understand how we fit into the broader operational outcomes. Next slide, please. Partnership ecosystems are becoming increasingly important. We talked about that. Listed on our screen, we have some of our key partners that we have. We are a partner with Dragos that provides OT threat detection into the ecosystem there. We are a partner with SEL, Swartzer Engineering Laboratories. And so we're also a partner with our infrastructure team, Honeywell. And so working along with these partners, we can come into organizations, do a system assessment, and then we can provide visibility into your operation with you or your clients or your customers. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so when companies position themselves correctly, several things actually start to happen. You gain access to better opportunities that you previously thought were maybe difficult to reach. You start participating in more strategic conversations. So let's say we're talking and there's an opportunity. Well, I'm bringing the full support of my partners, and then we go at it together to write better opportunities. And so our experience and capabilities actually are tied at that time to mission outcomes, not necessarily just labor categories or pricing. And so that's where long-term growth starts to happen after these planning mechanisms take place. Next slide, please. All right, so the shift is already happening and companies are starting to realize this early and are positioning themselves to behave and to be differentiated from the rest of the market. CMMC gets you in the door. It's going to be required, but also resilience is definitely going to be required as well as part of executive orders. So it's definitely taking shape. So if you're not paying attention to zero trust, we definitely need to talk about that. Next slide, please. So the real question becomes, where does your company fit in this shift? What capability do you already have that could position you differently? And who do you need to align with to access those right opportunities? And so those are the conversations that we are having right now. And those are the things that you'll find as part of the consortium. And so we are hoping to continue to have these conversations. We'll be bringing guest speakers in to continue to elaborate on things that are interesting to you. If you have anything of interest in particular about these topics, please put it in the chat or let us know. Next slide. So I want to thank you again, all of you, Mark and Keith and Nell and the team, all of you guys. Thank you so much for having me to do this short talk today. We'd love to connect with you, learn more about what you're building, and to explore where there may be an alignment, because the companies that move early in this market shift are going to create very different outcomes over the next several years. So please reach out. I'm on LinkedIn. You can scan the QR code or reach out to me in the consortium. Thank you, guys.
Miranda, before you go, one
Yes.
question.
Mm-hmm.
One question. Tell me, what's your one takeaway for today that you could just drop on the audience here and tell them sort of your heartfelt thoughts on why the KDM Consortium sort of makes a huge difference for them and the value they can derive from it. Can you sort of speak to that very briefly?
Absolutely. So one thing I think the value in the consortium is we've got several of the components to really make a successful collaboration. One would be Charles Sills and the American Defense Alliance conferences that he offers to the consortium group. And so sometimes we are looking for a marketplace of opportunities. And so in that environment, we're able to connect with government decision makers. We're able to network with other small businesses. We do a lot of outreach as well. And so just being in an environment with like-minded individuals helps open those opportunities. And so it's not easy for any of us in government contracting, right? And so having the tools, which is the platform that hopefully Brian Stitt's going to demonstrate here a little bit later for us to help small businesses identify the opportunities, having folks on our team to help analyze those opportunities and team and partner to find the right companies to propose on those opportunities, whether you're in government contracting in the defense sector or whether you're in the manufacturing sector. We believe that this team, or even if you're in media with Mark to be able to lead us in that area, or in leadership with Israel, we have a lot of components that allows a company to grow if they take advantage of those.
And how can people get in touch with you, or is it through the consortium, or would you like to give that information out?
Absolutely. So you can also definitely get in touch with me through the consortium. You can reach me also at mbolden, BOULDIN at logicorhsv.com. You can visit our website at www.logicorhsv.com.
Well, let me tell you something, Miranda. I really enjoyed that, and we're going to bring up Brian right now. But could you also throw out Nell's email address for anybody because I don't think I asked Nell for that. Could you just tell everybody about Nell real quick, and then we can go straight to Brian, and then I'm going to introduce Brian real quick. This is my show, so I'm trying to make sure I'm doing my hosting duties properly.
Yes. Well, let's see. I don't have Nell's email address handy, but let me get
It's okay. Brian, you can throw out, what we can do is we'll let you go, Miranda. Thank you so much.
All right.
And
thank you,
a wonderful
guys.
founding partner of this coalition, and what courage, and somebody that really could help everybody in the audience. So let me introduce Brian. Thank you, Miranda. Let me introduce Brian. He has this interesting halo around him, which means he's sort of glowing with energy. Did you know, anybody ever tell you that? Because he looks this way on the street, everybody. When you see him, when you meet him in person, that little thing that's around him, it's weird. Anyway, I don't want to, it's nothing personal. I know you've had that since a child, but you're glowing. Okay.
Thank you.
Brian, so let me allow me to present Brian Stitt, Chief Technology Officer of Strategic Value Plus Solutions. A seasoned leader with deep experience modernizing critical systems for the EPA, Brian masters scalable enterprise solutions, seamless migrations from legacy platforms to modern cloud and SharePoint environments, and the integration of AI and secure frameworks. He brings strategic vision and operational excellence that power American businesses into a strong digital age. Brian, it's wonderful to have you here. And let's explore how reliable technology fortifies our nation's competitive edge. Let me ask you before you go on, what did you think of Israel's presentation? What was your thought from that? I enjoyed it. Lay it on the table.
Israel turned my presentation upside down. I had a whole plan laid out. I had my technical talk, and he just turned the whole thing upside down.
Well, we will have words with him later, won't we? You'll go.
Yes.
We're going to get on. We're going to
get. Yeah, I'm
gonna
have words with Israel.
Say, you screwed up Brian's presentation.
He sure did.
I'll make an appointment for that. We need to face him with tough love, right?
That's right. Yeah, he's gonna get a mouthful from me. So
anyway, Brian, take it away. Have some fun, and it's an amazing thing in real life. He actually does have that little white outline thing around him all the time. It's real. Anyway, go on.
It's probably from the glow from hanging out in data centers all day. That's what I'll attribute it to. But thank you, everyone. I'm Brian Stitt, CTO, Strategic Value Plus. Just kind of want to talk about a few things high level before I get into the slides. And this is kind of some of the things that Israel and Miranda and Nell kind of have shared across this presentation, and some things that I kind of carry as personal things that, or mantras that kind of guide how I do things and why I think the way I think. And I'm just going to lay out some loose terms here that just to put them out, and then I'll try and weave them into the presentation. And I think that it should help everyone understand, why we're here from and why we're talking about technology and partnerships and memberships and all of these different things that you'll see in the slides. Unfortunately, I wish we had more time to actually do a demo of the platform. And it is a platform. Initially, first blush, it looks like a website, but once you start peeling back the covers of it, you're going to see a tsunami of technology that's going to be eventually rolled out to all of the KDM Consortium members. So here's some of the terms that as Israel and others have presented that kind of came to mind. The first term is, I'm just going to lay them out, and then I'll kind of weave them in later. The first one is help the help, right? The second term is meet people or companies where they are. The next term or word that I'm going to use is compression. And along with compression, we're going to talk about how pressure can make diamonds. So those are some of the high-level terms, and then a couple of other things that kind of guide how I look and approach life and technology and solutions for customers and clients and family, is what you're seeking is seeking you. I just want to let you kind of sit with that for a minute. What you are seeking is seeking you. And when I think about that particular phrase is that we all resonate on certain frequencies, and we're all thinking about certain things. And you'll find as you go through your technology and your offerings and the things that you do that make your business, that you'll be naturally attracted to other people that may come up and start talking to you about what you do, even if you've never said anything to them. They just kind of know, and they're kind of magnetized to you. And that's what I mean by what you are seeking or what you're thinking about. Other people are thinking about it, and that there's somehow in this universe that we are attracted to those type of people. So another way of saying it is like attracts like. One of the kind of not so polished phrases that I use, that I think about when I'm trying to solve a problem, is that if it was a snake, it would have bit you. right? So it's right in front of you. You just have to see it and be open to accept it. So I use that if I lose my keys, if I'm trying to solve a problem, if I'm overthinking something. If it was a snake, it would have bit you. It's a simple thing that you can kind of think to allow yourself to take yourself back out of something that you may have gone down a rabbit hole, to kind of say, it's right here, right? So that's another phrase. And then the last one would be, I have two. The last two is, well, one, the answer you seek, you already know. You know why you're here. You know that there's something else that you need to be thinking about, or trying to find something to get you to that next level, that something different that's outside of what everyone else is offering. So it's like you go to the store, you got a whole row of potato chips, right? And you want to find something different. Like, I want some potato chips, but I don't know, I'm not feeling anything in this row, right? So you have to, but you know what you want. So you can be guided by that, that feeling, that urge that's going to take you to what you're looking for. That was not the best analogy, but that's kind of some of the things that I think about. The answer you seek, you already know. You know what you should be doing. You know the direction you're headed in. You know that the people that you're talking to and the people that you're listening to are taking you, or are trying to help you see that this is the right way. Okay. With that, those are just some of the high level terms. And so with that, let me give you a brief introduction to KDM and Associates. Strategic Value Plus has partnered with KDM and Associates to bring to you the technology, and to take all of these things that you guys have years and years of experience and put it in context, so that it can be compressed in a way that you guys can do what Israel mentioned in his presentation of the zigzag pattern, where you keep trying and failing and trying and failing. But if you're not in that cycle, you won't have permission to break out into that compression that you were in before. And when I saw that, that's purely how the stock market works. So that is definitely a pattern, a universal pattern that exists, and that Israel has keenly latched onto. So with Strategic Value Plus, we're bringing the information and delivering it for KDM and Associates, so that everyone can take part of it. Within the KDM Consortium, we have a platform, the KDM platform, that's going to be delivering all of these different products on a rolling basis. And that's what we're going to talk about in this presentation. The first component of the KDM Consortium, of the KDM platform, is the KDM Consortium. When I was first introduced to Keith, he would tell me about his vision. We listened, and we took those information and those ideas, and we have tools inside of Strategic Value Plus that allow us to get to the root of what the idea, to be able to bring and tease those things out in a way that we can deliver them to KDM Consortium members. On this slide, what we're doing is we're bringing in all of the world-class tools, from basic systems to all of the high-end, high-tech systems. We look at technology now. Technology used to be, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Now, technology is boundless. AI has totally exploded the freedom of opportunity. But then with that freedom of opportunity to be able to do anything for anybody, we still have to put it in context. What we believe is that we've been able to deliver via the KDM platform and the KDM Consortium, that those controls around it, so that you guys can compress what you're trying to do in a way so that you can deliver it out in the form of proposals and offerings, communications amongst inside the KDM Consortium, as well as outside. We do have a membership that helps us continue to be able to deliver products and services for the consortium. Go to the next slide. Consider this. Joining the KDM Consortium, you think about, what does that mean? And in part of what that means is that we need to get to know you. And we need to understand who you are, what you want to do. And based on that information in some other fields, we can determine a pathway for you. Within the KDM Consortium, if you were to come on as a member, everything is wizard driven. We have a very step-by-step, easy onboarding process. There's no guessing about what it is you're supposed to do. You always know what to do next. There's no scenario within the platform where you're guessing what to do next. The system is designed and built and is thoughtful enough to know what you're thinking and, well, for the most part, what you're thinking and what you think should be next, and where do you go for certain pieces, parts, activities, notifications, events. All of those things are rolled into the platform. We have 2 tracks. There's a manufacturing track and there's a government contracting track. So we're thinking about the complete total package of what it means across the 5 pillars of manufacturing. I don't have the 5 pillars in front of me. I have not memorized those, unfortunately, but across those pillars and in context of what the requirements are going to be across different industries. So we're going wide and we're going deep, but we keep it compressed in a way that is deliverable to you so that you don't get overwhelmed, but also accelerates and saves you time in trying to address those goals of completing an RFI, an RFP, getting your certifications, getting your business documentation together, all of those different components. We thought about those different things and we put ourselves in your shoes to be able to and saw from your lens, looking back at KDM, what are the things that you need as a business that you will value that's going to make your job easier versus using 5 tools, right? We have AI all over the place. It's not to be afraid of it, but it's to save you steps. So the things that you used to do, the wordsmithing you used to have to do, having ChatGPT on the side to do something, we're accelerating all of that. It's all focused. It's all in context of the platform to keep that pressure so that you guys can make those diamonds. Next slide. Think of this. Typical platforms, let's say you come into the consortium. Most platforms will give you the interface. There'll be a list of stuff on the screen. And then it's your job to figure out how to use that system, how to go search and find what you're looking for. So we've taken that model and flipped it upside down. Based on your profile, we use our technology, our AI, to deliver what is in alignment with you. We talked about alignment earlier today. Instead of you searching and pulling it, we're pushing it to you. We have other tools. We have bid tools. We've got, tools to help you with RFPs. If you're in the manufacturing space, we have some tools that can help identify other, manufacturers, align you with OEMs. This is different. This should feel a lot different to you. Hopefully, I'm going to pause for a second. Hopefully, I haven't looked at the chat at all, but just want to kind of see if anybody if any of this is resonating with anybody from a technology frustration standpoint, technology fear standpoint, RFP, struggles where it takes you a huge team to be able to write, curate, put in context your business in context of deliverables for an RFP that you're trying to that you think you might be in alignment for. Just put something in the chat to say that these are some things, some ideas that resonate with you from past experiences. Next slide. Consider this. As a member of the consortium, and once you get to know Keith more, he knows a lot of people. He has a lot of connections. And as today being the launch of the consortium, he's bringing the full force of all of his connections in context of this KDM platform. That means that there's going to be government contractors in there, defense contractors. There's going to be, it could be some healthcare in there. I'm not sure. Keith knows a lot of people, but I want to make it clear that those resources are going to be loaded into and available within the platform for consideration, so that they can consider your organization, your company, for potential opportunities. This is an opportunity center. And so part of this opportunity center, we've built a marketplace. And that marketplace is going to give you the ability, this is where your ROI comes back in for, if you ask the question, what's in it for me? This is what's in it for you. Whatever products and services you have that you want to offer to KDM Consortium members, you have a place to do that. Sometimes platforms are positioned to say, this is what we can do for you. But now we're making a place for you within the platform. So you can offer your products, your services, and part of the platform is verification. So as you provide services to our members, they're going to rate you. So it's best to bring your best verified capabilities. Don't stretch, don't overextend yourself, but bring the best that you have, because we're going to have people that's going to be looking to leverage the resources that we're going to be adding into the marketplace. Next slide. We have, at the base of what I mentioned earlier, the ability for you as an individual company to have potential opportunities pushed through you from various government contracting resources that we have. So that's, for you, your ROI. You don't have to search, it's in your box. Okay. The second part is the teaming component. What that means is that within the platform, if there's an opportunity that you cannot handle, the platform has the capability for you to be able to state, I'm looking for someone that is CMMC certified. I'm looking for a CMMC trainer. I'm looking to get certified. I'm looking for a DoD supplier. Whatever you're looking for, the people that are part of the KDM Consortium has resources, has links, has connections to aid in meeting an RFP or an RFI that's bigger than what you are, but you feel strongly that you can meet most of it. The KDM Consortium will have the resources to be able to fill in those gaps that you don't have. That's the teaming model. And we talk about compression. So we have to add more people into the overall, to make the overall solution. That's what governments want to see. That's what manufacturers want to see. That's how the dollars are flowing when people are starting to team together. They want more people to team together versus diluting those funds across individual companies. And that model is happening in places outside of the government, even in the grant space. They want you to partner. They want you to team up. So that's the new model. Keith has recognized that. We're pivoting to be able to support those types of initiatives and those new policies that are coming out. So what's the value of teaming? We have larger contracts with the tools that we have in the platform. It's a faster response, and you got quality people that's on part of your team. You don't even have to ask. You just know because they've been vetted by us and by the platform. Next slide. I say Keith a lot, but these are not my ideas. These are Keith's ideas. His idea is the what works approach. He might come back and say some more about it. I can't take it. I can only put it in context of what it means within the KDM platform. And so this what works idea and model has been integrated in the platform to say, this is the way. We've got the tools, we've got the tech, we have the relationships, and we've got the marketplace. So there's no way, if you don't apply what works, the membership, we believe that what we've put in place in context, compressed in a single place where you don't have to go anywhere to do anything to address any government contract. If you join part of this platform, you don't have to export things out to Word except for when you're actually going to submit it. But all the work can be done on the platform. All of the resources are on the platform. We have other partners that we're looking to integrate within the platform so that you don't have to go out and buy a third-party tool to be able to do something. And if it doesn't exist, and if you guys want it, I'll build it. That's the kind of technology that we have within the consortium. That's the kind of technology that we're implementing. We're constantly growing. We're doing a phased rollout. So it's not like you're going to get all of this tech at once, because we're probably going to scare you away if we gave you everything at once. It's going to be a phased rollout. We'll get you onboarded. We'll get your profiles done. Then we'll put the AI to start sending you leads. You start acting on them. You start the interactions in the platform, and those actions of those transactions is what we count on the back end to be able to say, are we creating enough transactions to be able to create the kind of change that we're looking for? That's what we're trying to do with the idea, the vision that has been taken from the things that Miranda's doing, the things that Keith's doing, Nell's manufacturing experience, Roy's AT&T experience, all of those things. I listen to all of those people, all of those colleagues in order to be able to deliver what we're offering you today, which is the KDM Consortium platform. And I think that might be my last slide. Is that correct now? I think so. So with that, I'll just say, thanks to everyone. Thanks to Mark for being a great MC and coaching me on this. I felt great.
Well, Brian, can I ask you one question?
Mm-hmm.
You said that you would build them. You would build the solution if somebody asked for it in the coalition audience, right? Look, my head is too large. It looks like I have twice the size head of you. Right? I got to move back. We have the same size head now. Okay. So you said could you unpack that a little bit? What do you mean by that? That's sort of interesting to me.
So what I like to look at is
60 seconds.
efficiencies, right?
Yeah.
60 seconds. If you're using 4 or 5 tools, or if you're paying for 4 or 5 tools, and if it makes sense in context of the kind of work and the workflows that are necessary to get something, brought in, here's your RFP. You got to get all your information together, and there might be something where you might need to analyze it some kind of way or transform it some kind of way. If it makes sense to put it as part of that workflow of getting something done, Strategic Value Plus KDM inside of the consortium, we can build that so that that's one less thing you have to do. Because if you're asking for it, there's going to be 4.
No, it's great. If you're asking for it,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You were saying if you ask for it, what happens?
If it makes sense, if it makes sense, we can build it. We would have to look at it, but we would definitely be interested in consortium member ideas for enhancing the platform. We're totally open because it's built from the ground up, which means that we can build and integrate at any level.
Do you think that?
Anything is possible?
Do you think, Brian, honestly, that maybe because you're working with these sort of building these unique platforms, that might be one of the reasons why you have the odd glow around you all the time from sort of, because the audience just sees this little white glow around you. And second question, do you feel cooler because you have a nice background and I don't, because I'm remote on an iPad? And by the way, audience, I'm not giving you the side eye. I'm not. I have to look to the left of I had to look into the camera. I have to look to the left of the screen. I can't see Brian. Anyway, but Brian, thank you very much. And I'm going to introduce Charles Seals next. And I wanted to thank you. I thought that was very insightful, detailed. And how can we get information? There is one thing Keith asked me to note, that there's a 50% discount. Is that correct for early adopters for the annual subscription? Could you unpack that just real quick?
Yeah, so that's correct. So if you go to kdmassoc.com, at the very top, there's a nice bright orange banner that tells you how to register for the KDM Consortium at 50% off. It's $650. It's a monthly reoccurring fee. So once you sign up,
if you borrowed that from your marketing budget, if you borrowed $650 from your marketing budget, you get an amplified relationship with a whole bunch of people in the coalition and lead generation that marketing is supposed to generate, right? So it's just a matter of repurposing some marketing budget to something that amplifies and creates for $650 a month, maybe $10,000 a month worth of lead opportunities. So anyway, with that said, thank you very much, Brian. I want to introduce our friend Charles Seals. Him and I both, we lack the cool background that you and Miranda and Nell had, but we're gonna wing it here. Charles, let me introduce you real quick. It's my great pleasure to introduce Charles Seals, the president and CEO of the American Defense Alliance, a former Navy intelligence officer who served with the distinction in the Pentagon, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and the U.S. Middle East Force. Charles is a recognized authority on government contracting and a passionate advocate for small and medium businesses. Through the American Defense Alliance, he builds powerful bridges between innovative American companies and our prime defense contractors, which is, by the way, very cool. I hate to look down, but I don't have a teleprompter, so I have to read off my other iPad. Bear with me, because there's more to say about you, my friend. Strengthening our national security and supporting our warfighters. Charles, welcome. Your dedicated service and vision are helping keep America strong, secure, and industrially vibrant. Boy, I actually wrote, well, I sort of wrote that, but why don't you say hello to everybody? Can I ask one question before we go to your presentation? Just a question.
Go ahead, sure.
What's your one leave behind from today so far from the presenters you've seen?
Well, I think the message that when you put together a consortium like this, which Keith Moore has led, and the rest of us have pitched in and engaged in, you have this very powerful engine to help small, medium businesses across the country get into the kind of U.S. reshoring of manufacture and all the other, and critical minerals and all the other national security and American economy initiatives that are going to be so important going forward.
Do you have any slides for us today or no?
I do not.
Okay, so why don't I stay on and just interview you a little bit, if you don't mind?
Okay,
I'll make an occasional humorous comment. You can slap me down while you go back into serious mode. We'll keep it entertaining for the audience that way, and I'll try to ask what the audience wishes they could ask. If you don't mind, would that be okay?
Well, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mark. Good.
Okay, so why don't you just lay into your main point right now and let me listen? I might have some questions on behalf of the audience. Let's do that.
I'd like to tell the audience what the American Defense Alliance is doing in terms of running conferences and how that dovetails into government and military contracting for innovative smaller companies around the country. So very briefly. Thank you, Mark. Very, very briefly. I will personally be, I'm putting this together now. My team and I will be personally moderating and running 2 major upcoming conferences. These are not gigantic. These are 500 or 600 attendees. Most of the attendees, again, are defense industrial base contractors, but pretty savvy contractors. But what I always say is that a lot of companies have the capabilities and the capacities to pursue and win government and military contracts. They have the tickets to the ball game, but they can't find the entrance to the stadium too often.
Good analogy. Good analogy.
So our conferences bring together the contracting offices, the program executive, SES people, the military portfolio acquisition executives, now the new PAEs, and a sprinkling of flag offices from Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Space Force, et cetera, Army, et cetera. And we give actionable intel on what's coming down the pipeline. So I'll be running our upcoming Navy and Marine Corps procurement conference in Norfolk, Virginia, right near the Naval Base, in late May 28th and 29th. And then our upcoming Air Force Space Force procurement conference in Colorado Springs at the brand new Polaris Hotel, adjacent to the Air Force Academy, at the beginning of August 4 and 5. So just to give you a very quick overview of the kind of range of sectors, industrial and technology sectors that we cover for the Navy conference, we're going to be covering contracts coming down the pipeline in shipbuilding and shipyard modernization, fleet readiness, ship maintenance and repair, AI, quantum in Navy and Marine Corps projects, contested logistics in the Indo-Pacific and in Europe, Ukraine, and small business program managers from NAV-C, NAV-Air, NAV-War, NAV-Sub, Military Sea Lift Command, etc. So that's kind of the overview of all of the technologies from construction to IT that we cover in our conferences. I'll stop here for the moment.
Can I ask you a question there? Because I actually might lose my iPad in a minute because my battery's low. It's a crazy thing. But is it true that the SBA and the Defense Department are working together to lower barriers to allow the audience, the contractors, to access? Can you unpack that? Is that true? Is there any truth in that? I heard it.
No, very much. That really good question, because the whole initiative, the whole thrust now, led really by the Department of War with some of the other agencies like SBA, as you mentioned, and also GSA, the General Services Administration, is to focus on, when possible, non-compete sole source contracts under what's called, it's a clumsy phrase, other transaction authorities, or OTAs. And so what they're trying to do is not to impose military specs on every ask for technology support, but let the private sector come to the Department of War with solutions. And then if there's something they find they really need that they didn't even know about, give them a non-compete contract to develop the prototype, to deploy it to the warfighters as fast as possible.
It's interesting. How can the audience learn more about how to do that? Obviously, it's through the KDM Consortium, but specifically,
and one of the ways that the American Defense Alliance is supporting the KDM Consortium is that we tell our conference attendees about the unique services, sometimes unique, but certainly valuable services that other consortium members can provide, and that's from cyber CMMC training to mentor-protege capacity building, federal mentor-protege programs. That's an amazing tool that a lot of people don't know about, to manufacturing, capability building, all of that. So we try to dovetail with the consortium in helping, again, our small business conference attendees.
That sounds good. What are the two major points you'd like to sort of close out this segment on, and take your time, that you feel are the most impactful for this audience of potential contractors and people that want to access the benefits of the KDM Consortium?
I think if the audience, companies, principals would look into what they really need to go forward on their objectives in the next 1 to 2, maybe 3 years, they should really look at cyber CMMC training. New, even tougher guidelines are going to come down the pipeline from CISA, CISA in Homeland Security very soon. They need to know about that. They should look into, again, federal mentor protege programs, mainly under the SBA and the Department of War. And just so people can follow up, I'd like to give my phone number is 248-514-2293. And please go to the American Defense Alliance website to look at the conferences coming up. And that's www.americandefensealliance.org. So
Okay.
anyway, we can help.
Great. Just one quick closing question. What was your takeaway? Do you have any other takeaways from what the presenters you've seen so far? And I have a second follow-up.
Okay, good. I think a lot of what has been said today really looks at national security and the critical position the U.S. is in now. And if we can maximize the amazing American industrial base, and to do that, small and medium businesses are not excluded. They should be completely included wherever possible for new everything from new design software to new manufacturing capabilities.
Good. Okay, final follow-up. And I want you to be very blunt and honest about this because the audiences always love candor. If I didn't have a beard, would you think I was 61 years old? I don't look 61 years old to me.
No way.
I have a baby. Look at this. There's no wrinkles.
There we go.
There's no wrinkles. I don't look 61. I am 61. It's the beard that makes me look like sort of an old fart. So anyway, Charles, excellent. Very helpful, very concise. And I just want to thank you. And it's a really honorable thing you're doing to bring these assets, these opportunities to access the Defense Department, subcontractors, primary, for you to be that bridge. I just want to thank you on behalf of the entire consortium, and you've given your information out. Can you throw out, do you have Nell's information and contact information? Or actually, we're going to bring her back at the end, so don't worry about it. Anyway, Thank you, Charles. I'm going to bring in
thank you so much.
I'm going to bring in our fearless leader, Keith Moore, for 2 minutes because he has an appointment over at a major contractor himself. And Keith, I wanted to thank you on behalf of the consortium for having the vision to sort of put this together, to get everybody to hang their egos on the door and figure out how to create abundance together through creating an end-to-end solution between all these different presenters that they can help collaborate and bring real value at a lower cost and higher speed to our government and also to the private sector. 2 minutes, go. Oh, your sound's off. You can talk with the sound off and I can fill in the words.
Ladies and gentlemen,
there you go.
To the Department of War, to SBA, to Department of Commerce, to HUD, to Department of Energy, Department of Agriculture. We, as a consortium, are expanding our levels of capability to commit to the mission of advancing what works in America to protect America's national defense. And some of what we've done today is a pretty, I would say, authentically amazing presentation of leadership. To Israel, David, so happy to have you on, not just today, but to move with us moving forward, to not only remind us, but show us how in often cases, especially in the contracting, where it does not only get lonely, it's very hard, and it's very challenging, but united and collaboratively, we actually grow wings of not only hope, but competencies that, Mark, I want to thank you for, leading the conversational orchestration of the assembly of this not only august group, but small businesses who've had to persevere through, find a way to stay in the ring, not only the government contracting game. That includes Keith Moore, KDM, and Open Government Media, IAEOZ Summit. Because we privatized during a time of change, we're here. And we're here stronger, we're here better, and we're growing. And we invite every audience member, we invite every federal agency, state agency to understand that we can beat our adversaries through innovation. And we are excited about doing just that. We just simply need rapid decisions to support. And Mark, at the head, with your history inside of the government, KDM's history. Nell, thank you for your manufacturing expertise and bringing strategic value to KDM. I look forward to you all hearing much more about our partners over at the Hub Zone Council through Michelle, and how we plan on being a part of working with SBA and any other funding organization that allows us to do a feasibility study, allows us to show where there are barriers so sufficient that we need to give you a study and a performance of a 12-week cohort in CMMC, and look forward to E3S doing just that and communicating. So, to Israel, I love the Coca-Cola. I could see me, and by the way, you're probably reading the Good to Great, and I've read it. It's my favorite book, one of them. And that CEO with visionary to give refrigerators out to keep the Coca-Colas cold and pay for those refrigerators is no different than what KDM has done when we privatized.
Well, the people that make hypersonic missiles have built those same refrigerators at different places to chill their hypersonic missiles. They're trying to borrow that strategy, which is it's just something I saw on YouTube.
That shows the expansion of an idea that goes into innovation, that goes into collaboration. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and attention, at least mine,
Final
for
question,
this 2 minutes.
Final question, because you're the fearless leader of the KDM Consortium. Because you can be hard on yourself at times. I've seen this. You talked about how you have this expansion, but you've lost about 30 pounds since I saw you last time. You shouldn't be so hard.
Mark, I have not.
Well, you were fat before, but now you're.
But I'm older than you. That's the funny thing that I got. Now I know how much older I am. And I don't have a goatee. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you for being a visionary leader, and thank you for organizing this so that the people in this audience can really work together in a collaborative way, similar to what Dr. Deming taught the Japanese 60, 70 years ago now, because we can have an explosion of growth and take advantage of those lowered tariff barriers to foreign countries for export, which is wonderful. And for the defense industry, President Trump increased that spending budget by $500 billion. I don't know if it's been approved or not. I'm just a lowly MC, but if that's true, there's a deployment of capital. Can you quickly speak to the deployment of capital and how urgent it is for these people that are watching to really get involved with the coalition to take advantage of the money that is going to be spent? Just hit on that 60 seconds. Could you do that? And then we'll talk more about
Ladies and gentlemen, understand that 5 pillars are very intentional. Okay, U.S. manufacturing.
Skip straight to the $1 trillion that's going to be deployed. Go right to it. 60 seconds. Go.
You will not be able to access it out of the Department of War if you don't have a CMMC certification. We're here to help. If you understand the supply chain associated with critical minerals and the gap that America has, the access that we have, thanks to being in this space, we're excited about allowing and inviting you all as a company to be a part of that supply chain. Defense contracting, Charles Sills, been a partner for 5 years. We'll be at Navy. The Shipbuilding Act alone, China's building 1,000 ships. We're only building 3. America is serious about we needing small businesses to be a part of this supply chain. Opportunity zones. I am so happy that I was there in 2017, 18 at the formation of it. And in 2019, 20, we brought to the floor, the marketplace, Innovation in Agriculture and Energy Opportunity Zone Summit, and we run an Opportunity Zone Fund today. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you, humbled by everyone who's here. There's information is powerful when you know what to do with it. KDM and our consortium, we know what to do with it, and we want to help. Thank you so much.
All right,
Mark,
throw me back.
fantastic job.
I'm on my second iPad battery right now. So, Keith, thank
Well,
you
goodbye, Mark. It's all on you now. I got
I'm
2
on.
minutes to get to my appointment. Thank you
I'm
so
taking
much.
taking
I'm
the
proud
baton
of you.
on the 440.
Yes, you are.
All right. So let's
I'm
throw out
proud of you. Goodbye.
Michelle. And I'm thank you, Keith. I'm not gonna introduce Michelle because I didn't actually receive her magnificent bio fast enough. Just like I'm. Oh, you have the same glow around you as Brian. What do you guys both work at a nuclear power plant? Strange. Anyway,
No, it's not that fine glow, you know. Just
so Michelle, could
connecting
you do
dots.
me the honor? This is Michelle Burnett. She's the vice chair of the Hub Zone Contractors National Council, which has a huge impact, right? And if you don't mind, do you have slides, Michelle?
I know that there's one that was submitted to Nell, but I'm fine. I don't need to really speak to slides to that perspective. But
Well, can I stick around? Do you mind if I stick around and interview you with
Absolutely.
the audience? Okay, so I'll just sit here and hold up my iPad while you chat. But I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell people about what your organization does and who you are, because you could probably do a better job than me. It just won't be as, it's always nice to have somebody say something nice about you, but you're just going to tell people the solid truth about what you do, and I would like to hear it. I'd like them to learn more about you because I think Michelle, by the way, just before you go, fascinating speaker, very fluid, logical, friendly, kind. She's the type of person that goes and works with contractors all over the United States to help them benefit and grow, right? Isn't that true? Can you unpack that
That is
for us?
true. Yes. So as you mentioned, I'm the vice chair of the Hub Zone Contractors National Council, which is an organization that's been around for 26 years. I got involved with the Hub Zone program when I was 19 years old. I started off working as the help desk, and I got to know the companies and see the impact that they were having. And it put me on a lifelong journey of being able to support these businesses. So now, nearly, almost 20 years later, because my parents were government contractors, and they were one of the, I think that one of the top 20 companies that have been certified and are still participating in the program. And I saw what happened when businesses relocated into these underdeveloped areas and created jobs, and how it transformed these communities. So previously, I was the executive director of this organization, and I stepped away. And I've now come back as the vice chair because I want to really focus on the advocacy component. These small business programs are so meaningful and so needed, but have been heavily underutilized. I'm really excited to be joining this consortium, to be really focusing on the component of manufacturing. Because for those that are not as familiar with the Hub Zone program, it was created in 1997. It was endorsed by Senator Kit Bond in order to bridge the gap due to the fall of the manufacturing industry. And it's a perfect solution in order to bring it back. There's a unique criteria associated to the program, specifically the price evaluation preference, which allows small businesses, when bidding in open competition against a large business, if their price is within 10%, they're viewed as the lower bidder. And so this could be an amazing opportunity for small manufacturers to position themselves in hub zones, which absolutely directly correlates to opportunity zones, as a way to be able to stand out of the crowd. So I love this program. I've seen how it can help revitalize these communities. And I'm just excited to be able to be supporting with the consortium, because I realize that, government contracting is not easy, and a lot of businesses are struggling. And the best way for people to overcome what's coming and what's happening is to find ways to work as a team.
So you were telling me something interesting earlier. We had interesting email interchanges and interesting conversations on preparing for this program. You were telling me why you were drawn to it. Can you unpack that a little bit, and your sort of what you were, just very quickly, and then I just want you to unpack the 3 top things you feel they can get from the consortium, and what you can do at the Hub Zone Contractors National Council. Could you do that just sort of in that order?
Absolutely. So my true love for the HubZone program probably happened when I was in my lower 20s and I was working as a contractor for the SBA HubZone program. And I got to know the companies, and what had happened is that there was a rule change that was about to happen, and a lot of counties across the nation were going to lose their HubZone status. And our county included, in Garrett County, Maryland. And so a bunch of us from the HubZone Council all came together in order to try to advocate to have that changed. And that really sparked a fire in me because of our advocacy efforts, thousands of communities that were at risk of losing their status were able to not only remain their status, but also a lot of non-metropolitan counties were added to the map. And this was a huge overhaul for rural America because the way that the algorithm was being determined, it was kind of comparing the poor to the poor. So there was a fundamental flaw in the way that regulations are written, which I'm sure that many people that have read the FAR can realize that there is a lot of contradictions. There's a lot of regulations that don't make any sense, but it takes people coming together and addressing those issues and coming up with real solutions. So that's something that really drove me. But what made me fight so hard for this rule change is when I was interviewing some of my other fellow employees, and I was talking to them about, like, what did it mean when this government contractor moved to this area? And these were people that I was friends with and I was cool with, and I wasn't expecting such an emotional connection. But one of my friends, when she was doing the interview, and she tried not to cry because she was saying before my parents, because my parents were the government contracting company, had moved to the area, that they had to work 3 jobs with no benefits, never dreamed to be able to put their kids through college. And because that they'd moved to this area, that they were able to have 1 job, and she got her kids through college, who graduated with a master's degree in dual engineering and chemical engineering, and something like way out of the thing. And like, when I heard that story from them, and I didn't expect it. And at that point I was like, listen, I have to fight for this program because, you know, these jobs don't come easy to these individuals. And it was really impactful. The big benefit that I think from the consortium model. So sorry, it makes me very emotional when I talk about that.
No, it's, you know what? We're humans. We're gonna use AI and robots. They don't have emotion, but once again, as I said earlier, it doesn't matter. Corporations have names, they have titles, but it doesn't matter. They're all people. We're all just people, and unless there's some sort of emotion, what makes us different than robots, right? So it's sometimes the heartfelt sentiment, and I appreciate that, and I think the audience does. Can just go on? I don't mean to interrupt you, but you have my permission. I want you to express that.
What I think is the most important, and why I wanted to be involved with the consortium model, is because I know the future of government contracting is teeming. Since coming back as the vice chair, obviously it was great to be able to reconnect with a lot of these businesses, but it's been really hard for me because I care about these companies. They are like an extension of my family. Like, when we have our national conference coming up in July 21st and 22nd. And
how many companies do you represent? Does the HubZone Council represent?
So the HubZone Council, we have a member base of a couple hundred businesses that we represent, but we are the voice of the entire portfolio, which is approximately around 4,500 companies nationwide.
Whoa.
So we are the longest standing advocacy organization that represents HubZone program. We've been around for 26 years, and not to toot our own horn, but if it was not for the council, this program probably would not exist, because on 3 separate occasions that Congress had it on the docket for the chopping block. So it is really important. And I can't express that enough, especially right now with everything that is happening in government contracting. We as the people must stand up. We must come together, and we must be able to address, not just complain about what the problems are. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is we fight to keep programs or to keep regulations, not fully understanding, like, listen, some of these things do need to go away. We do have a lot of redundancy. We do have a lot of issues within the FAR that need to be addressed, but we also have to come up with solutions. And the best way to do that is to come together. And that's what the consortium is doing. Already, since I started working with the consortium, we've written up white papers. We're going after feasibility studies. We're trying to be creative to figure out ways in order to solve key problems that are impacting our nation. So recently, we wrote up a white paper that was submitted to SBA about the issues with CMMC and how it can become more cost effective, or how we could get pre-vetted solutions. So we, in the consortium, and that's what drew me to it, is we see a problem, and it's a lot of people coming together in order to solve it, because it's very difficult. I'm one person, and the council has very limited resources. We are a nonprofit organization that is board led. So that means that the people that are running this organization are volunteers. That's a lot of work and a lot of pressure for
That's
individuals.
a lot of love. That's a lot.
Yeah,
of love.
I do love this program, but it's very difficult and very draining.
Well,
So I would love more help.
The great C.S. Lewis once said that the definition of love is wanting the highest and best good for another. And that's what drives you.
Yes.
I can see that. And so you're part of this consortium to do that purpose. But think about this, audience. If you join, if you you'd be open to taking calls, obviously, and emails. We're going to get your information. But this is somebody that's doing this from her full heart. Very human, not AI or robot. You can tell the human component, how critical it is in collaboration. And it seems to me, Michelle, that you really pay attention and have a heart for everyone, that every company you're helping, because it seems like you just want to see families have jobs. You want to see people have a future. Am I saying that right?
That's absolutely right. It's definitely what drives me, but it's also what weighs heavily on me, because it's a huge overhaul. What we're experiencing here in the United States it's not anything that one person can bear the burden of. And it takes us all coming together in order to make an impact. And that's why I will say it anytime that if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can follow me on LinkedIn or visit our website at www.hubzonecouncil.org. My email address is michelle.burnett@hubzonecouncil.org. Or you can call me. The council number is 240-442-1787. But I encourage individuals to get involved because our voices do matter. And it takes numbers in order for change to happen.
Okay, one final follow-up. Something about Keith said earlier. Do you think Keith has lost weight, or do you think he's still expanding?
No, absolutely. He is definitely losing weight. But I think a lot of that is because he needs more of us to come in and support him. He's getting stressed out. So
well, that's what it is. And he's also off of carbs. And the second question, I don't look 61 years old, do I? I mean,
absolutely not. Yeah, no, I was shocked by that.
Okay, but I am. I'm 61. So look, thank you very much, Michelle. In all seriousness, the heart you've shown on this podcast or program is admirable. It's rare and unique, and I think we all owe you a debt of gratitude. I mean that.
Well, I appreciate it, and I look forward to listening to our final speaker. And I appreciate being able to be a part of this consortium. It's a great group of individuals. They are all way smarter than me. So
okay, do me a favor. Cover for me for the next 60 seconds while I pull up Carlton's bio. I want to read it, and I switch my backup cell phone in order to pull that up. So can you cover me while I look?
I absolutely can. That is not a problem. I have never had an issue with speaking. And who's going to be coming up next is Carlton Harris, as he's pulling up his bio. This is an individual that when I first saw what his system is capable of doing, and then looked at his background in the technology that he's been building, it was extremely intimidating for me. I was also super excited because I'm like, hey, if I join this consortium, does that mean that brain gets to come help me? Because I get owned by the remote control. I am not a tech savvy person. And one of the big issues with the council is we're very antiquated. We are not automated. And what I'm hoping at this year's conference is that we've been talking to the members of the KDM Consortium about them helping us power the HubZone conference, because this consortium is filled with individuals that are innovative, advanced technology, look at problems and are trying to find solutions. And that's what we're going to be doing at the National HubZone conference this year, is instead of us focusing on what is, we're going to focus on what can be. We're going to be looking at different topic discussions associated with advanced manufacturing, AI, energy, rare earth minerals, all being able to focus around the pillars that we had identified earlier in this subject. And I'm really excited for when I get to, we were all kind of waiting for this launch before we could really focus on drafting the agenda for the HubZone conference. But I'm really excited about what Carlton's going to be able to do. And so right now, like Carlton, while he can bring up your bio, like I can just put you on the fly going, you are going to be coming to the HubZone conference and helping you shape out some really cool topic discussions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely looking forward to being there at the HubZone Council. Some of the things that we're offering, as well as from end-to-end enterprise solutions, as well as via the KDM Consortium, very much hits on everything that these HubZone companies would need to be able to compete.
So I'm pretty excited too, because I haven't been able to see a lot of your demonstrations. But last night when I couldn't sleep about 4 a.m., I was like, we really need a demo hall at the HubZone conference to be able to allow all these tech companies to be able to showcase their capabilities real time and be like, hey, how does this all work? So I might be hitting you up and Strategic Value Plus and getting you smart people to be like, how can we shape this at the HubZone conference? And what type of visibility can we give these companies? And I would love to be able to associate it to problem statement and solution.
Yeah,
so what do you think about
absolutely. That sounds really good to me. And just to elaborate a little bit more on that, on some of the direction that it could go. Problem statement. HubZone businesses need to be able to compete for contracts. End of the fiscal year is coming up. We know that a lot of money needs to be spent. A lot of budgets have increased. We already have deadlines from the Department of War from November of last year to November of this year that's required to be able to compete for those funds. It's as a small business founder myself, I understand it's difficult in order to meet those costs associated with becoming compliant to compete. That's one of the reasons that we were so passionate and so bent on getting our products to be able to help democratize some of the costs when it comes to being ready to compete for those things. So we'll be able to offer and be able to show a lot of ways of how do you reduce that cost? How do you ensure that you're scoping? How are you ready to play a part in actually getting your innovative products into the hands of the government by expediting those compliance needs?
Well, that's a really noble cause. And I feel like we can just be merciful to Mr. Masters, and maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself. So when he gets back on, he can just do the interview and we can get started on this. Because I personally have read your background. I'm not even going to be able to regurgitate it. But do you want to just give a high level of individuals of your credentials, and then we'll get into, I think you have a couple slides, correct?
I do have a couple of slides, and as I give a little bit on my background, we can get the slides up, and I can just jump directly into it and share. So, as she said, Carlton Harris, 20 plus years within the cybersecurity field myself, doing everything from offensive cybersecurity to supporting defensive cybersecurity across some very large agencies, overseeing various security engineering efforts as well as incident response, high profile incident response in both the federal as well as commercial, really helping organizations understand how to go from how to ensure that their systems are secure and meeting the things that's required across compliance needs. With E3S, one of the things that we've been directly focusing on, and with me as the Chief Growth Officer as well as Senior Vice President, is how do we take that advanced technology when we even look beyond cybersecurity to other industries and be able to move it in answer to critical problems within our federal space. Over the last 30 years of experience within our years of experience within our company of dealing with things such as AI and cognitive digital twins, we've been put into places being able to help answer those complicated problems, such as being part of NASA's initiatives with Artemis, where you have to find ways to reduce risk, and failure and hallucinations on the systems that you're using just is not an option when you're talking about having life in space. So early on, we were able to be part of some of the initial program in order to help with some of that risk reduction by leading the development of the NASA autonomous platform, which actually created a cognitive digital twin for that program, as well as whenever we start looking at our war fighters with the U.S. Navy and the carriers that are landing aircraft, we've been able to be part of the development of those systems in order to help ensure that aircrafts are able to land safely on a small set of runway when they're out in the middle of the sea. Now, how does that actually correlate with what we're talking about today whenever it comes to that teaming and bringing together organizations and where E3S fits? Well, whenever we look at the pillars that KDM Associates are focused on, whether it's government contracting, critical minerals, our compliance, all those things end up coming to bear together, where critical minerals, critical infrastructure, Industry 4.0, as a enterprise environment, as you're starting to look to get your capabilities into the hands of the government or into the hands of your customer, there's a lot of areas where you don't have that same tolerance of getting things wrong whenever you're engineering out the solutions and incorporating AI and cognitive digital twins into into your areas in order to support with critical minerals. The other reason that we directly align is because we do believe that it takes a group in order to really be able to compete well. So we do team a lot with other members in the consortium, as well as the founding members, in order to compete for various contracts as a joint team, because we all bring something significant to the table whenever we're bringing our joint capabilities into the hands of the government. Next slide. So for E3S, we actually have two products that we tend to go to market with. The first one is that Singularity IT product. This right here is a product where we took that same passion that we are answering to today in order to support our other government contracting companies in order to meet compliance. We started this back in 2016, 2017, where we saw some very similar problems within the federal government itself, where it takes time to get information from your tier 1 SOC analysts up to the executive C-suite in order to move and pivot your organization in a timely fashion. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we actually took that same product that we took to market from the government space and started expanding it to the GovCon space and other industries and supporting them the same way. And that really helped bring together a holistic system within AI ops that's leveraging agentic AI in order to help speed up how you get to compliance. And the results for you as an organization is faster answering to security, as well as the opportunity to ensure that your government contracts aren't at risk from lack of compliance. Next slide. The other one that I briefly went over earlier as well, like whenever we looked at the way that we supported NASA and the Navy, this is really around our extended digital twins. What is an extended digital twin, you may ask? Well, it's that cyber physical layer of any physical infrastructure where you're bringing it into a model that the computer can actually understand and allow it to be able to really reason among itself. The differentiator that actually adds into whether you're a manufacturing company looking at Industry 4.0 or you're a critical minerals organization looking at how do I ensure that my power is all self-contained within my site, or data centers. The way that you end up gaining a benefit by implementing cognitive digital twins is that the systems and algorithms that you put in place with AI now actually have something that they can reason off of in a deterministic way, meaning that you're not completely relying on a LLM, for example, to infer information. You know the results that you expect, you know the results that need to be at the other end. Now you have a deterministic way to really take advantage of physics information tied with your digital twin to see those outcomes. All right, next slide, please. Now, I briefly mentioned why E3S believed in the consortium model and what made us join. Well, it was brought up earlier. I believe Mark mentioned it earlier, talking about the end of the fiscal year whenever it comes to the amount of money that's being put out by the Department of War. That's $1 trillion budget, right? Well, in order to get to that, as I mentioned, you need to be able to do things like becoming CMMC compliant. The CMMC compliant has been ranging in from 40,000 to 150,000 for implementation and audits, is a lot of what we've been seeing. And that cost is something very heavy for a small business to be able to carry, and as well as some medium and large businesses, because they end up having a lot of flow down that they need to carry, because they have to make sure their subcontractors are also compliant. Well, by using our product and by using Singularity IT, this is where you actually see a lot of that speed, to be able to get to that compliance, be able to have that self-attestation, and be ready to go out and hire that 3PAO to be able to audit your organization so you can be CMMC level 2 audited. We've been hearing a lot lately where organizations would go out and they think that they're ready, and they now actually have wasted funds from going to the 3PAO, and then at that point finding out that they're not ready. By using our platform, by using the capabilities that we embedded in it, you're now getting that understanding of where your readiness sit earlier on in the process, so that way you can better budget and plan on what your next steps are, what your next steps need to be. And by being a member of the by being a member of the KDM Consortium, you actually get early access to a lot of these capabilities. For example, I have a QR code on the screen. If you scan that QR code and use KDM First 50, we're actually tying you directly in with a early release of our community edition that's actually helping organizations at least get to that level 1, and that way you can understand how the platform can also support you and get you to the level 2 as well. And that's completely free of charge. We're closing this off to a very small group of vetted, qualified vendors, because that's what the consortium is looking for as well, is those members who are able to actually offer that differentiator and actually able to get to their products and differentiator into the hands of the warfighter in order to make a difference for this country. So one of the things that we wanted to do is, as one of the founding members, is extend that a little bit more. Here's a promo code, visit the QR code, punch it in, and you can qualify in order to have first dibs on the free access to the level 1. And I think that's my last slide.
All right. Well, that was absolutely amazing. And I think that a lot of people are really going to benefit from those solutions. I'm not sure if Mr. Masters is going to join us back on here, or if Nell from the Strategic Value Plus is going to be closing us out. But there we go. There's Mr. Masters.
Here I am. Okay. By the way, Michelle, you're a great host. I want to tell you something. I want to thank you for stepping in for me, because you should see how I have my iPad set up right now. It looks like a cartoon setup. I have one iPad sitting on the next iPad, and it's about to fall over. So if suddenly my face disappears, that's because my iPad fell over.
Right now you are black screen, so it is not actually showing your face, but we can hear you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like it. And don't worry, from one non-tech savvy person to another, no judgment on my end. If anything, it makes me feel a little bit better, because being surrounded by all these tech people, it's very intimidating.
Well, you'll get paid for both of us. And Carlton, that's a great job. Carlton, could you do us all a favor and tell just before you close out, can you just tell the audience a little bit about you and your company? Because I didn't have a chance to brag about you, because am I there? Can you see me?
No, we cannot see you, but Carlton did give everybody a brief background about him before we segued into the
Carlton, I
I
want you to remember my face looks pretty young for 61, and I'm bearded. So Carlton, I just want to thank you on behalf of the coalition. How could people? Did you give your information on how people can contact you, Carlton?
No, please. If you want to contact me directly, of course, LinkedIn. But my email address is at eecomputing.com. Again, that's C Harris at eecomputing.com. And if you use the link if you use the QR code that I showed, I'll also be aware that in the promo code, definitely would be aware that you're wanting to reach out in regards to something that was discussed during the KDM Consortium.
Okay, well, I have a theory that maybe the Chinese Communist Party has made sure that my image disappears because of
That makes sense.
Trying to sabotage the coalition. So here's my suggestion. Michelle, can you stay on? Can you stay on as a co-anchor with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to transition into a real treat. I spoke to this gentleman for almost 2 hours yesterday, and an amazing human being. And do we have Marty in the bullpen? Is he ready to go? Marty, are you there? Hello, Marty.
I'm not sure if they told Marty to stay on. I think that Keith might have inferred to Marty that the individual that he is referring to has a very impressive background. He was a professional chef for numerous White House administrations. And he's just a very community-centric, very family-oriented individual that has a very powerful story.
And he owns 9 companies, and he's an expert in artificial intelligence. Like,
really?
He's a global speaker. I spoke to him for 2 hours, Michelle.
Wow.
He is a global speaker. He is one of the top AI experts. He has all of his systems for marketing amazingly.
Well, that's not even fair to have both different sides of your brain, like to be completely technologically challenged and then just like a chef and a connoisseur. Like, that's just not fair. That's just too many gifts.
You know what's amazing? You know what he told me? He told me that he was a cook on a nuclear submarine like 35 years ago, and he had to make the food good for all the crew. And when people started hearing about his recipes, the White House called him up and he became the chief White House chef. Now he creates a White House chef experience for 600 to 1,000 people, draws more audience than President Bush or Clinton to his events. It's just amazing. But anyway, we can't get to him now, but why don't you stay on with me while we bring in Nell to sort of close us out. And I just want to thank everybody. Very grateful for everybody staying. And we'll be able to have a copy of this video, correct? For anyone that wants it. And you can edit out my crummy jokes and it'll be just better. But I can't help it because
that is not true at all.
I just hate boring programming. I hate boring programming. There's nothing worse in the world than, I got to sit through a seminar. So I try to keep it lively. Nell, thank you very much for coming back on. And
yes,
Nell,
my pleasure.
Before you go one step further, could you please let people, you're from the strategic value something or other, because I can't read the rest of your screen. My phone is
strategic value plus. And they are definitely that value add. Like that plus is absolutely needed because they're amazing.
Good.
Well,
so
thank you, Michelle.
Can you give the information on how to contact you right now?
Yes. Yes. And I anticipated your question and I put it in underneath my title. So,
there you are.
Yeah.
Nelliana.
Yep. Nelliana rhymes with Gardine.
At strategicvalueplus.com. That's sort of a neat name, Nelliana. Yeah, anyway, so why don't we throw it to you, Nell, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be the guy in the black box that nobody can see, and Michelle will stay on in the corner while you wrap it up, and then I might ask one final question. I'll try not to make it stupid, and then Michelle, you can ask 1 or 2 questions yourself because you're a great co-host, Michelle.
I'm glad to be here.
Right.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Oh my gosh! So yes, we've quite a day today. This is our first production together as the consortium. We meet all the time, but this is the first time that we've gone public and presented a program that we hope will benefit America. We came together, as was said many times, because we believe in going farther together and making an impact together, an impact that's going to benefit more than just ourselves, but our families, our communities, our cities, our country, and our future. So that's why we're here. This is an opportunity in a lifetime that we have to take this opportunity. I believe it's pretty existential to the country. If we don't make the choices that we're going to be making today, and that is to come together and make America stronger again.
So, Michelle, Nell, can you just unpack the top two reasons you would encourage the people in the audience to join the KDM Consortium?
Yes. One, which was mentioned many times, and hearkening back to what Israel was saying, countries and people who are going to survive are going to be joining forces. They're going to collaborate together. They're going to join forces together and contribute to each other as we improve and move forward into the future. And the other is that this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Well, the fiscal year for the current administration for the government ends in September 30th this year. So that's not much time. We're already in May, leaving us about 6 months or less to take advantage of the $1.5 trillion budget that has been discussed today.
And
So
is there
those
an
are two main
application
reasons.
period that's even shorter than that now? Is there an application period? Is it really more like 3 months to get application? I don't
Yes.
want to create
So
pressure.
we're like, no, you're bringing up a good point. Truly, yes. That's shortened by the fact that before you can apply even for a Department of Defense contract, you must have a CMMC certification, cybersecurity maturity model certification. And many agencies require a level 2, which is more stringent than level 1. Level 2, there are 110 check boxes that you must check to qualify, and you must be assessed by a third-party impartial expert that's been authorized to assess. There are less than 100 of them in the whole country, which is that's the bottleneck. You have to get on their calendars to be able to be assessed by November 10th, which is the
and
deadline.
the coalition can help with that, correct?
Correct. Yes. The consortium, we have several levels, and Carlton mentioned one. It's a cohort model where a group goes together in attaining their level 1 and level 2 or level 2 CMMC. Now that's a whole subject that takes we'll take another webinar.
Well, maybe we'll do another show on it.
Yes, let's do that. We've had some mini webinars on it before because we're committed to making CMMC available and accessible to our companies, especially our manufacturers, which we know will create 4 or 5 times the number of jobs. So we start with manufacturers, getting them CMMC certified. Any company that is in the line in a supply chain for a DOW contract has to have a CMMC. They need to be certified. Otherwise, they cannot participate. It's really hypercritical.
Closing thoughts now. Closing thoughts real quick.
Yes.
And actually, before closing thoughts, you have one question for Nell, Michelle.
Well, Nell, I'm not going to ask her a question. I am just going to give her a compliment that she is one of the most amazing women. And I've known Keith Moore for a while, and he's great and he's super connected. But it was her that really drove me to want to be a part of this consortium model, because she really embodies that whole component of teamwork. The amount of time and dedication she has put into this, and this woman is phenomenally organized and is juggling so many hats. You guys have no idea how many things that she's putting together, and it made me want to be involved with this organization, and what makes me want to work with Strategic Value Plus and to be able to supply them and put them in front of as many businesses as I possibly can, because I do believe in them. And I think that with their support, that they're really going to be impactful in helping these manufacturers come back to the United States and build collaborative partnerships in order to, fix a serious problem that we have coming down the pike. So I'm just honored to be able to be a part of this and to be working with you.
All right. Well, listen. I agree with that, and that I'm so glad you stayed on, because that's something that's a personal thing I haven't experienced. I just know Nell indirectly through short little chats, and I'm really appreciative of that. Now, closing thoughts for you, Nell. One thought.
Closing
What's your
thoughts.
thought?
Yes, closing. Join us. Join us. I mean, the table is set. We're setting it for you. We want to help you, and you can help us. We can help each other. We'll go farther together.
I would say is the type of businesses that you consider joining is it could be accounting companies. Like there's different gaps in a consortium model that it's not just AI and technology. It's about the infrastructure that it will take to go after proposals and be able to support these initiatives. So people that specialize in manufacturing, energy, infrastructure. We want to make sure that the businesses that are joining the consortium model are well positioned, understand, and are top experts in their field, because our objective is to be able to build the best and the strongest winning proposals by working as a team.
Well, let me just thank you both. Michelle, stay right there. Thank you very much, Nell.
Thank you.
Michelle, stay right there as I give my closing thoughts so they can have somebody to look at. And also, I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a favor when I'm done.
Okay.
So basically, the bottom line is what this is all about is trying to recreate that economic explosion, as I started in my opening remarks, that had occurred in Japan after Dr. Deming went there and taught people quality in the process and collaboration between even competitors. Because the Japanese, and Deming told them, you don't have competitors in Japan. You have a global market. Therefore, you should work together to expand the pie, to expand the revenue to the country of Japan for the tax base. And we have zero tariffs now, really almost zero tariffs that prevent us from exporting goods and services for manufacturing and other things, which I'm sure you agree with, Michelle. And for the first time in 55 years, which could allow us to double our GDP by 2032, and is really the way we're going to pay off the national debt. If we have double the tax revenue, we can pay it off. And of course, if we pay off the national debt, interest rates drop. So beyond that, AI and embodied robotics, would you agree, Michelle, that AI and embodied robotics should be embraced rapidly for competitive edge so that we can expand that export market? Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And I agree with your comment that a lot of businesses and a lot of people itself are very uncomfortable with the fact of AI because they don't fully understand it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like me that watch Terminator, and that's quite intimidating. But we need to look at it from the perspective that AI is here, and that in order to advance in this global market, we are going to have to shift, we're going to have to adapt, and that's going to be a part of the future. So the train has already kind of left.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I was investing in a big AI company called Skynet, called Cyberdyne Systems, and putting up something with Skynet, which we can discuss that in a different call. But they're using a model of the T100, I think. Anyway, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to be the fill-in host for me if I can't make it next time? I'll try to make it, but
I don't know that I'm going to be as charismatic as you, but I have no problem with being able to talk about things that I believe in. And I do believe in teamwork and collaboration. And the individuals that are a part of this team thus far have been quite impressive. And I'm hopeful that the individuals that add on are just going to be just as impressive. And I have no problem bragging about people that are doing really amazing things.
Okay, well, there's 2 points there. You don't have to have a beard. I don't expect it. Number one. Number two, I'll be happy to work with you on how to present this. Just the whole goal is to keep it interesting and light and flowing and pacing, right?
I would love to be mentored by you.
Yeah. So if you can't pace a show, if you can't keep it interesting, keep it light, make it human, you just have a boring, dull thing, right? And nobody wants to watch boring, dull information. It's nice to have real content and a framing of something that's light and accessible, warm, human, and authentic. And that's sort of my goal for today's program. And I think we accomplished that. And I wanted to thank you for jumping in. And with all that said, by the way, if you ever want to check me out, you can go to my website. And my website is markmastersconsulting.com. That's markmastersconsulting.com. I don't ever really go there because most of my clients for the last 30 years have been by referral. But it's sort of an interesting place to go visit if you want to. Anyway,
I actually did read it and looked at your website and saw your background, and it was quite impressive. And I'm just very honored to be able to share this stage with you. And I look forward to still working with you because I could absolutely use a mentor with speaking. I say a lot, and I also talk too fast. So we're all learning.
The master of speaking is Israel David Duran, which we had the honor of having today. But why don't you close this out, and then I'll give a final comment, and we'll be done.
Well, thank you guys all for being here today. And I do hope that you guys look more into the consortium model and figure out if your unique skills would be a good addition. So thank you everybody for that stuck around with us. And I hope that I will be able to meet some of these individuals that might be wanting to join the team.
Well, listen, thank you, Michelle. And on behalf of the entire KDM Consortium and Keith Moore, our fearless leader, I wanted to thank you all for joining us. And we'll try to keep it shorter next time. But you don't get it. It's very often you don't really get a $100,000 or $25,000 to $100,000 speaker in a very small group like this very often. And I just wanted to honor that. And I also wanted to be able to let the show breathe a little bit. And I think we accomplished that. So thank you on behalf of KDM Consortium. Please check us out on our website. Michelle, can you tell them where to go?
It's KDM and Associates. Bear with me one moment. I want to make sure that I give you the correct information on it. So it's https kdm-assoc.com. So, and I will go ahead and try to add that to the chat box.
And this video will be available for people to be able to send around to their friends. That if any of you know any contractors or any defense people that are dealing with any aspect of government contracting, this video will be available, edited without my stupid jokes, so you don't have to put up with that. Maybe they'll cut it. Maybe they'll probably cut out the one where I talk about Keith expanding. But other than that, I really am grateful for everybody joining today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.